Call to order. 1.1, call to order. Open session. Open session of the May 24th, 2023 Governing Board of Trustees meeting is called to order at 5:17 p.m. 1.2, public input concerning items on the closed session agenda. We'll now call members of the public who request to address the Governing Board regarding items that are on the closed session agenda. Is there any public input concerning items on the closed session? No, seeing this or not, we will go to 1.3, adjournment to closed session. Before we close session, consider the following matters. 2.1, conference with staff regarding anticipated litigation. Government Code 54956.9, one matter as identified on the agenda. Board will now adjourn to closed session at 5:18 p.m.
Considerăm în jos. Dă-te forțare. Înainte. Imba. Forțare. Ecco cum potrà.
All that fighting quickly, I didn't have to do anything. Nice. All right, welcome everybody. Thank you for being here. We are at reconvene open session number 3.1, call to order open session, reconvene open session at 6:02 p.m. By law and board policy, I must notify you this meeting is being recorded. By law and board policy, any member of the public may address the board on any item on the agenda or any non-agenda item, but the public must present a written request to the board. Therefore, I ask you to kindly submit your speaker slips at this time to help us run an efficient meeting. Speaker slips for non-agenda items need to be turned in prior to item 5.2, hearing of the public regarding non-agenda items. You'll be recognized and called to podium at the time. You have 3 minutes to address the governing board. For those individuals who wish to comment on a particular agenda item, your speaker slip will need to be turned in by item 4.21, hearing of the public regarding agenda items. You'll be recognized and called to the podium when your requested agenda item comes up. You'll have 3 minutes to address the governing board. 3.2, report of action taken in closed session. The governing board met in closed session and no action was taken. 3.3, pledge of allegiance. We now welcome Dr. McClure to lead us in the pledge of allegiance.
Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the agenda. Superintendent introduces students to present during her report, so we'd like to move that portion of the report to have students present after item 3.4. Approval agenda, as the recognitions are quite long this evening. We'd also like to move the second part of the superintendent's report and all board reports to follow agenda item 5.2. Is that okay? Is there a motion to approve the agenda with those changes?
With those changes, I move approval.
I'll second.
All right. Motion to approve the agenda with changes. Oh, wait, sorry. All in favor? Aye. Motion to approve the agenda carries. All right.
So we will go on to the first part of the superintendent's agenda, or excuse me, the superintendent's report. And for this part of the report, we have students present this evening, and I'm going to introduce the principal from Ocean Air School, Krista Burnson. Ms. Burnson, I don't know you're here somewhere. There you are. Welcome, and why don't you let us know who is joining us this evening from Ocean Air School?
Hey. Good evening, President Mock, members of the board, Dr. McClure, and cabinet.
Stevenson and proud to be the principal here at Ocean Air, introducing our amazing green team. Our students have dedicated their time each week looking for solutions to waste on our campus this year. They have looked at problems, collaborated, collected data, and implemented solutions on our campus. They will share their findings and next steps with you this evening, and I'm so proud of these amazing students and their dedication to making our campus and our world a better place. So come on up, green team.
A lot of information that I think our district will take back and be able to remove further. So hopefully that is something that could be incorporated into the other schools. Thank you so much again. We are now at 4.1. The board report from the Delmar Teachers Association with President Kevin.
Good evening, President Mock, members of the board, Dr. McClurg, and members of cabinet. Boy, how I wish I wasn't following that. With that said, though, we have gotten to our final board meeting of the school year, not the final board meeting of the year. And coincidentally, my final board meeting as the president of the DMUSD. I will be stepping down after this year and will be replaced by Jason Thuram, who I think will be even better than I was this year, so hopefully everybody will be happy with that. I'd like to take a minute to just kind of reflect on the year and give some recognition to some people that I think deserve it. So after a very fast year, actually, I'd like to say that I'm in the year of optimistic. I feel like it's been a year where both DMCTA and our DMUSD administration have really worked together to keep moving in a positive direction. At a time where maybe some people might have backed in their own corners and decided to, stand their ground, we've decided to work together and move forward in a way that we can both work towards what's best for our students and families and teachers together. So I appreciate the help and work from our team over here and also from my colleagues in DMCTA. With that said, I'd like to recognize some of my colleagues in DMCTA, starting with our site representatives, who are kind of first line, who work with our staff at each site and then represent our staff at each site at our site representative meetings and also our professional relation meetings. So if you allow me, I'd like to go through a list of people who they may not all be here. They would hear their names maybe if they watch the recording of this. So it actually falls, we had Adrian Sheffield and Aaron Shaw, Carmel Delmar, Billy Cameron, and Steve Grimm. At Delmar Heights, Kate Anderson, Delmar Hills, Monica Sorensen, Ocean Air, Karen Hart, Pacific Sky, Kristen Ebright, and Amber Tracy, Sage Canyon, Michelle Chavez, and Gina Cavamonte, and Sycamore Ridge, Lori O'Farrell, and JJ Moqueo, and then Torrey Hills, Julie Garretts. I would also like to recognize I'd also like to recognize our bargaining team this year. It was a successful year, even though it wasn't a full contract, we still had work to do. But I appreciate both our side and administration being able to work together and really hold fast to our the way we want to do business. And instead of each holding our side, coming together to recognize each other's interests and work together to find solutions that really benefit everybody, which I appreciate. So thank you. Bargaining team, we did have Jason Thuram, who is also going to be our president next year. I was looking at our executive team. Our bargaining team was Jason Thuram, it was Fred Beddick, who was our bargaining chair. It was also Ross Gibson, and then Jackie Tiffany. So that was our bargaining team along with myself. And then our executive board, I'd like to recognize also, which was Jason Thuram, our vice president this year, Kristen Coe, our secretary, and Diana Holmes, who was our treasurer. Without all these people, honestly, it'd be really difficult to do my job. We work as a team together, and I don't make any decisions on my own, but we come together and try to decide what's best with input from our whole team. And it's been really nice working with everybody. So I appreciate all the time and effort people put in along with me, and I'm happy to be able to pass the torch this year to Jason and help out along with bargaining maybe next year. So last but not least, I would like to recognize our Teachers of the Year. and our classified employees of the year for all the work they've done, and I'm happy to have tonight to be able to recognize them all. Hate to take the spotlight first, but I would like to say thank you to all of them as well. So thank you, everybody, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Kevin. Pleasure seeing you for last time. 4.2, board recognition, access student stand out with Principal Sleet. Let's get it.
Good evening, President Mock, Board of Trustees, Dr. McClurg, and members of Cabinet. I am very proud to share with you that earlier today we held a special ceremony where all of our 9 principals and one of our assistant principals and our classroom teachers honored a 6th grader as a student standout for their excellence in arts, community service, humanities, courage, fellowship, or science. And we honored a student at each school. Dr. Holly McClurg, Shelley Peterson, Chris Delahanty, Brian Stanley, and Jenny Howe were also in attendance to celebrate our students. It was very special to honor each of these students with their families just beaming with pride. There was lots of smiles in the room, and it was a wonderful ceremony. I'd like to share with you who the students were and what their honor was for their student standout. So Eliza from Del Mar Hills was honored for her community service. Owen from Ashley Falls was honored in science. Gabriel from Carmel Del Mar was honored for fellowship. Sana from Del Mar Heights was honored for arts and fellowship. Isabella from Sycamore Ridge was honored also for fellowship. Kriv from Ocean Air was honored for fellowship. And Nadav from Pacific Sky was also honored for fellowship. Maya from Sage Canyon was honored in science, and Xavier from Torrey Hills was honored for fellowship as well. So it was a beautiful ceremony, and we just wanted to share that with all of you this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Principal Sleet. 4.3, board recognition, DMUSD 2023 Teachers of the Year with Mr. Stanley.
Well, good evening. It brings me great joy to be able to acknowledge the remarkable individuals who greatly contribute to the excellence of our district. Our dedicated teachers, our invaluable classified staff, and our selfless parents who generously volunteer their time. Together, they form the foundation of what makes DMUSD an exceptional place for our students, for our families, and for our staff. Whenever we speak with our staff and our parents, I'm always impressed by their passion for making a difference in the lives of children, for their profound care for our district, and for their immense pride in being a member of DMUSD. Our staff express their genuine delight in being able to come to work here each and every day. And our parents share how their children, although they are eagerly anticipating summer break, still feel a sense of sadness in not being able to come to school every day. So the extraordinary school experience that our district provides is a direct result of the skill, dedication, and commitment of our people. And so with that, The governing board of trustees and the district administration are very pleased to applaud and to honor the following DMUSD 2023 Site Teachers of the Year. So coming back up. From Ashley Falls School, Kevin Cunha. From Carmel Del Mar School, Allison Wilkins. From Del Mar Heights School, Teresa Solis. From Del Mar Hills Academy, Monica Sorensen. From Ocean Air School, Chancia Fisher. From Pacific Sky School, Ashley Whipple. From Sage Canyon School, Amy Aslan. From Sycamore Ridge School, Kristen Bonagui. And from Torreyville School, Shannon McAfee. And the next, 4.4. One more round of applause for our and 4.4, Board Recognition of DMUSD 2023 Teacher of the Year. The Governing Board of Trustees and District Administration are pleased to applaud and to honor Chancia Fisher as the DMUSD 2023 Teacher of the Year. The Del Mar Union School District announced Chancia, 6th grade teacher at Ocean Air School, as the 2023 District Teacher of the Year candidate for the San Diego County Teacher of the Year program. And so right now, I would like to be able to welcome Richard Alexander from Mission Federal Credit Union, a DMUSD partner in education, to join us in recognizing Chancia as the 2023 DMUSD Teacher of the Year.
For being a partner of Mission Fed, and congratulations on your award. Thank you.
One more round of applause.
All right, moving to 4.5, board recognitions. Nixie, Excellence in Special Education. Jenny.
Good evening, everybody. It is my absolute pleasure this evening to recognize one of our staff members who is this year's recipient of the Nixie Excellence in Special Education Award. Our district is one of 14 districts that form the North Coastal Consortium for Special Education, SELPA. Each year, Nixie collects nominees and takes nominations from all 14 districts and chooses one recipient for each category in the Award of Excellence in Special Education. I am very proud to recognize that our school psychologist, Kelly Brady, is this year's recipient for the winner of Nixie's Excellence in Special Education Award in the category of Service Provider. Unfortunately, yes. Unfortunately, Kelly can't be here tonight because she is at the County Office of Education SELPA office receiving the award there with the other recipients for the Nixie Award. But we did want to take the opportunity to recognize her tonight. And in her stead, her principal, Abby Domingo, will be here to accept her award.
All right, we're at 4.6, board recognition, DMUSD 2023 classified employee of the year. Mr. Tanya. Thank you.
So the governing board and district administration are pleased to applaud and to honor the following 2023 school site and district office classified employees of the year. So from after school program, Beth Bowler. From Ashby Falls School, Sasha Kukul. From Carmel Del Mar School, Alfonso Gomez. From Del Mar Heights School, Shelley Healy. From Del Mar Hills Academy, Yubia Hernandez. From our Early Childhood Development Center, Ina Lewis. From Ocean Air School, Junior Lopez. From Pacific Sky School, Alan Miller. From Sage Canyon School, Anjani Kumari. From Sycamore Ridge School, Jennifer Good. From Torrey Hill School, Tabitha Scarborough. And from our district office, Rick Rosser.
And 4.7, I guess Mr. Stanley's back for board recognition of the DMUSD 2023 classified.
And how about a big hand for our class? We'll let them go very far. So before he sees off too far, the Governing Board of Trustees and District Administration are pleased to applaud and to honor Sasha Kukul, aka Mr. Cool, as the District Classified Award. So, once again, we would like to invite Mr. Richard Alexander from Mission Fed Credit Union to join us in recognizing Mr. Cool as the DMUSD 2023 Classified Employee of the Year.
Thank you again to the board and to the leadership team, and really love being a part of your guys' organization. So we look forward to partnering again next year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Board recognition of DMUSD 2022.3 PTA presidents. Kelly Peterson.
Good evening. It is my pleasure to recognize our PTA presidents. They are an invaluable piece of the engine that really makes it all happen at our school. They're very often the right-hand man of our school, or woman of our school principals, and really do so much to bring our community together, and always think about how they can make the school experience next level for all of our students. So thank you so much. It is the incredible amount of organization and the number of hours it takes to make incredible things happen for children. It really can't be overstated. They're an incredible group. So it's my pleasure to acknowledge and honor the following individuals. From Ashley Falls School, Valerie Shorenstein. Carmel Del Mar School, Gigi Maudlin. Del Mar Heights School, Robin Alvarez. Del Mar Hills Academy, Whitney Kirk. Oceanair School, Allison Gastonay. Allison liked it so much, she took a brief break and came back again. Pacific Sky School, Matthew Chang. Sage Canyon School, Marnie Nagel. Sycamore Ridge School, Sarah Lake. And Torrey Hill School, Mindy Lewis. Let's please give these incredible individuals a big round of applause.
For DMUSD 2023 B Life members.
Thank you. I'm also so proud and pleased to recognize our District English Learner Advisory Committee members, or DLAC members. And these are, this is an advisory board representing our English learners and their families from across the district. So please join me in recognizing the following individuals. From Ashley Falls School, Inez Gare. Carmel Del Mar School, Isabel Guillen. Del Mar Hills Academy, Celine Zerkirkian. Oceanair School, Sonia Girelli. School, Pinar Messon. Sage Canyon School, Elizabeth Klimek. Sycamore Ridge School, Anjean Rose. And Torrey Hill School, Maria Schifrin. And most of them are so incredible they are off volunteering in other ways. Let's give our individual presidents a big round of applause.
Word 10, Board Recognition of the DMUSD 2022-23 DMSD Board Representatives.
The Governing Board of Trustees and District Administration greatly appreciates our partnership with the Del Mar Schools Education Foundation officers and directors, and we are so pleased to be able to honor them this evening. The work they do to provide support and funding for our STEAM Plus program, again, cannot be overstated. That is such an integral part of the education provided for all of our students throughout our district. And we really couldn't do it without the support and hard work of these individuals. So I am happy to turn it over now to DMSCF President Will Rett, who will recognize these individuals.
It's really wonderful to have parents that are so dedicated to try to support our schools through the PTAs and through the foundation. And without the work of the PTA and the foundation together, it's just, our schools would look very different. So it's my honor to be able to thank some of our fellow directors who made it here today representing some of the schools for DMSCF. So actually, I'm going to go ahead and name all of them. It's going to take me a little while, but not all of them are here tonight. But I just want to thank Cheyenne Wang, who does a wonderful job for us. She's our treasurer. She's with Ashley Falls. Heather Clark at Del Mar Hills. She was our secretary this year. Chris Gabley was our VP of Marketing Communications, and she represented Del Mar Heights. Ladan, who is here right now. So Ladan Shemian, Carmel Del Mar. Okay, keep going, sorry. Nicole Beliski from Ashley Falls. Miriam Berry from Carmel Del Mar. Rafaela Carolina from Carmel Del Mar. Javier Capuani, also from Del Mar Heights. Leonor Velasquez from Cochinair. Gavin Harris from Cochinair. Yan Pang from Oceanair. Bill Quintana from Pacific Sky. Christina Engel from Sage Canyon. Fernando Rainey from Sage Canyon. Allison French from Sycamore Ridge. Roger Yu from Torrey Hills. Veronica Villas from Torrey Hills. And we have Sheena Sani from Del Mar Heights. And I also represent Del Mar Heights. Thank you so much for your support.
We do want to thank Will Rett for your leadership of the foundation this past year. It's been remarkable, and you do such a good job of working with
the foundation that operates outside of the district and in full support of the district. So thank you so much for supporting our district students, to you and your board. Thank you for your leadership. Will, I understand that now is one more order of business, so your directors who are here, if they could join you up front. That would be great.
Yes, this is in place of the report.
I was told to call you back up, is that correct?
Sure.
Megan, is that correct?
It makes sense to do it now, but I think this is my only report I can do. I'm really excited to report that the generous contribution of all the parents in our district, with the hard work of our directors, and also the support of corporate and community sponsors, businesses, we're very pleased to announce that we have raised and we're ready to donate $1,130,000. Present this check to you.
Thank you to our wonderful foundation. Thank you.
I'm not sure what bank's gonna take this. All right. We are at 411, board recognition, DMUSD 2022-23 retirees.
So it takes a very special person who decides to go into education as a calling, as a career, with the only goal to be able to make a difference in the lives of our children. The 6 individuals that we're going to be recognizing today have made a career of supporting students across our district and in education. And combined, these 6 individuals have a total of over 119 years of service to students. So it is my distinct pleasure to be able to recognize and applaud our 2022-2023 retirees. Kristen Bonneweedy, 600 School. Paula Intravaya, Torrado School. Janet Wolferts, Cornell Del Mar School. Nora Rodriguez, Night Custodian, Maintenance Operations and Facilities. Juanita Velasco, Special Education Instructional Aide, Torrey Wilson. And Karen Harris, Accounting Technician with the office.
our tradition, you are going to ring in your retirement on the count of 3. We congratulate you on a wonderful career. We thank you so much for your contribution to our district and most importantly to the lives that you've affected in our students every day of every year. So on the count of 3, let's help me. Count of 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. We will miss you very, very much.
Thank you so much to all our honorees. Thank you everyone that was We're now going to take a 20-minute break, adjourn at 4.12, and adjourn to a 20-minute break to eat some cake. Have at it. Make some bagels. Thank you very
Oh yeah. She has Sony, you know. Her specialty was advising, running around, talking their lives, taxes, money across borders. So she knows how to unravel. Well, we can spread out each other around. So you're not coming tomorrow night, right?
No. Make it.
Go see the sun.
I got no soccer.
Yeah, I don't know about the TK thing. I have some friends who live in TK districts and they say it's cool. A lot of Kansas. It doesn't have to be, though. At least that's how it was implemented in theirs. And they're like, I don't think I want to send my kid. So, I don't know. My kid was already going to full school Montessori, so there's some of them because the ratio is very different. Such a lower ratio that the teachers. It'd be interesting to see the budget. They have a really large surplus. Then they need to have some. Yes. Right. I totally agree. But theirs is really large. Seems good to me. Well, I think if you have a really large reserve, stop asking us for $800. It's going to be $800. If the reserve is large, you don't have to do that. I know.
Alright, thank you much very much for coming back. I think everyone is all picked out now. Okay, we are at 4.13, reconvene board meeting. And 4.14, we're going to board recognition with DMUSD Employees of the Month, May 2023 with Dr. Cook.
Congratulations. We'll continue our congratulating. Congratulations to the DMUSD Employees of the Month for the month of May 2023. From Ashley Falls School, Lorelei Cisneros, Library Media Specialist. From Carmel Del Mar, Cindy Means, Education Specialist. Del Mar Heights, Mark Fiorio, Education Specialist. Del Mar Hills, Tara Barton, Second Grade Teacher. Ocean Air, Sherry Hill, Instructional Aide. Pacific Sky, Jennifer McClellan, Fourth Grade Teacher. Sage Canyon, Blancas John D., Instructional Aide. Sycamore Ridge, Tony Fisher, Instructional Aide. Torrey Hills, Gabby Viscano, Instructional Aide, Early Childhood Development Center, Kelly Griffin, lead teacher, and from the district office, Margarita Fernandez, payroll technician. Please join me in congratulating these excellent employees of the month for the month of May.
And 4.15, the board report with DMUSD, but Will has already completed his report, so we are going to go on to 4.16 with the board report from the Del Mar Parent Teachers Association with the incoming president at Safe Canyon School, which is Aubrey Comer.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. I'm Aubrey Comer. I'm filling in for Marnie, who is the outgoing president for our PTA for the previous year. I'm here to talk about the year in review, all the activities we did at SAGE and throughout the PTA, all boards. I didn't realize at first I was speaking about all the schools. So I'm going to cover some of the activities and inter-school planning that goes through the PTA and how people can help get involved. So our mission to the California PTA is to positively impact the lives of all children and families and help DMUSD PTA succeed. We are working on initiatives to work towards that objective by welcoming students and families and staff. Beginning of the year, we host our giving campaign and fundraiser and partnering with our community to give back. We're helping to celebrate diversity and inclusiveness for all of our students and families throughout the district. The PTAs are very collaborative, working together, sharing information, trying to better plan for all of the events happening throughout our school. And we're learning beyond the classroom with activities inside and outside of the school. And most importantly, ensuring our school is a healthy, fun, and safe environment for all of our children. So throughout the year, there's a lot of planning going on. I know that we've already started for the next year with the schedule and the calendar. There are many activities held at the school, focused on the families and the fun. Some are fundraisers, including the carnival, and then the readathon kicks off as our big PTA fundraiser. There are movie nights. Red Ribbon Week helps with health and awareness for the students in the community. Assemblies held throughout the year on various topics. And Field Day focuses more on the educational component of physical education, more of my background, so I love that day. Book fair, family dance, magic show, international night. I went and attended at Torrey Hills last weekend. It was really fantastic to see how they put that all together, and we're going to be bringing that back to our campus, which will be nice. The camp out and helping our staff, appreciating them throughout the year, and then the gift to the school with the money that the PTA helped raise that didn't go to the other numerous activities held on the campuses. So photos of our events that we did this year, some include the cookie social, we had family picnics, a carnival, the Love Fest, was it Carmel Del Mar, I want to say, dance parties and other events in the community. So hopefully more parents and families and staff will continue to get involved. I'm starting to recognize there is a lot of time and planning that goes into all of these activities, and anyone who can volunteer is appreciated. It can be a little bit of time or as much as you're able to give, and we need your help to continue to reach our goals for next school year. Thank you.
Thank you, Aubrey, and thank you so much to all our PTAs. Thank you so much for our schools and community. 4.19, we're at public hearing to review the proposed 2023-2024 budget and balances in excess of minimum reserve requirements. Yeah, we're actually moving. Those were the ones that we moved on the agenda. So, reference item 10.1. In accordance with provisions of the Education Code Section 42103 and 42127A to B, you're hereby notified of the preparation of the proposed 2023-2024 budget and ending fund balances for the Del Mar Union School District. The proposed budget and ending fund balances are available for review from May 25th, 2023 to June 21st, 2023 by contacting Megan Bennett, Executive Assistant to the Superintendent at mbennett, so it's MEEMNETT at DMUSD.org. The adoption of the 2023-2024 budget and ending fund balances will occur at the scheduled Governing Board of Trustees regular meeting on June 21st, 2023. And now we're at the public hearing procedure, which the hearing is opened at 7:28. Myself. Do we have any public comments? No. We do not have any public comments. Therefore, the hearing is closed at 7:29 p.m. So, now we will move to 4.20. Public hearing to review the proposed local control and accountability plan, LCAP, referencing item 8.1. Notice is hereby given that the Del Mar Union School District will conduct a public hearing to gather community feedback and accept the preliminary plan for the proposed 2023-2024 local control and accountability plan, LCAP. The proposed 2023-24 local control and accountability plan is available for review at the Del Mar Union School District office located at 11232 El Camino Real, San Diego, California 92130 between the hours of 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. and on the DMUSD website at www.dmusd.org from May 25th, 2023 to June 21st, 2023. The adoption of the 2023-24 local control and accountability plan will occur at the regular scheduled board meeting on June 21st, 2023. The hearing is opened at 7:30 by myself. Are there any public comments?
No.
There are no public comments. The hearing is now closed at 7:30 p.m. by myself. And we are at 4:21. Hearing of the public regarding agenda items. For anyone who would like to address the governing board on a particular agenda item, your speaker slip will need to be turned at this time. You'll be recognized and called to the podium when your requested agenda item comes up. 3 minutes to address the governing board. 4:22, board approval, minutes for the April 26, 2023 meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes for the April 26, 2023 meeting?
You had a comment for agenda items.
I had a comment for public agenda. 12.1, you can speak, because that's the item that you would like to speak.
Yes.
They just need to turn them in.
Yes,
They might
it's
hear.
Can I speak?
At item 12.1.
Oh, I see.
You're just-
You're not speaking, taking all the agenda items before.
Oh, okay.
So we're,
You
you're not
turned in
taking
your
public
slip and
items
everything.
before, you're doing it at.
Yeah, we're just collecting the slips.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. And we'll call you when it's at the agenda item. Okay. So is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Second.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Motion to approve the minutes carries. And we are at 5, correspondence communications, 5.1, correspondence with Dr. McClure.
The superintendent's office receives the following correspondence regarding district business on these topics: strategic planning, personnel, transitional kindergarten, and the Del Mar Heights rebuild. Thank you.
5.2, hearing of the public regarding non-agenda items. We will now call members of the public who have requested to address the governing board regarding items that are not on the agenda. Members of the public who would like to address the governing board regarding a non-agenda item must complete and submit a speaker slip at this time. Is there any public input concerning non-agenda items? We have 9 speakers here. We typically have allotted 20 minutes, or I mean, that's the policy is that we have 20 minutes, so if we need to hear all 9 speakers, if they're 3 minutes each, that'll be 27 minutes, so we need to extend the time. So, is there a motion to extend the time for public comment to?
To extend the time. I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. So motion carries, and we will hear all the speakers. So I'm just gonna go in order the way I received them. So first, I'll call 2 names at a time, and then so you can prepare for the next person. The first person is Daniel Bozarth, and the second one will be Gabrielle Smith.
Good afternoon. If it pleases the board, my name is Dan Bozarth, and I am here for the Safety Concerned Parent Group. My friend Sonia Gilliam from Sage Elementary has been working hard on working towards a more secure school. I'm going to do this in 2 parts in 3 minutes, right? First thing I want to do is introduce myself. My name is Dan Bozarth again. I am a certified registered locksmith. I am a facilities security officer. I am an ITPSO, which is internal threat security professional, security officer. And I've been in the security industry for 38 years. I run a company called Accurate Security Pros. I've been with that company for 35 years. I started security in the United States military. I'm former Navy and former Army. I would love for Army. So what I want to do is talk about really quick. That credibility should be handed out to you in a form that I set to pass out. And then finally, I want to talk to you about an organization called PASS, Partner Alliance for Safer Schools. It's a 501c3, and it's the first national guidelines for school safety. We're part of that organization, and so I want you to know this is kind of a public or board service announcement. There is a path and a set way that you can secure your schools that has been worked on from some of the greatest minds in security across the nation, and they're part of this path. I'm going to read 2 paragraphs from it, and I'm done. The Partner Alliance for Safe Schools, PASS, has a singular focus to provide school administrators, school boards, and public safety and security professionals with guidelines for implementing a layered and tiered approach to securing and enhancing the safety of school environments. Established in 2014, PASS brings together experience from the education community, from law enforcement, and from security professionals like myself to develop and support a coordinated approach that can assist school administrations in making effective use of proven security practices specific for K-12 environments and informed decisions on security investments. The other part that I have available, that I have already sent some information about, is government funding for this security.
Thank you, your time has expired.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you. Next is Gabrielle Smith, and after that will be Daniel Royal.
Hello. It's nice to see you again. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Gabrielle Smith. I'm a mother of 2 boys, live in the Carmel Del Mar School District. My 10-year-old son now has special needs, and he is homeschooled at this time. It was kind of a battle back and forth to try to get my son a placement in the school district that is literally, the school is a block from my home. All of the children on our street play, they're all friends, but my son couldn't go to his community school because he has Down syndrome. Last meeting that I spoke, I was speaking in favor and support of Daniel Roybal for the position that Mr. Colos has now. And I'm sure you're a fine man. I want to say that right out the gate. This is not an attack on you, sir. But I'm just going to read from Marcia Sutton because she did a great job of kind of coining how I felt after that meeting and the process for the appointment. She said, I thought I could let this go, but some things just stick in your craw. And then she described what that means, which is really great. But then she says, instead of holding a special election, district trustees decided to appoint a replacement for disgraced trustee Scott Wooten, who resigned in February. And they, since the Delmar Unified School District Board decided not to spend the money to hold a special election, the only honorable option should have been to respect the voters and the principles of democracy by supporting Daniel Roybal to fill the vacancy, and here's why. Roybal was the fourth vote getter in the November election, which happened only 3 months before Wooten's resignation. The 3 open seats. Anyway, since the board chose not to hold a special election, Roybal should have been the obvious, logical, ethical, correct choice. I would like to commend Catherine for standing up for the voters in your community. It was brave. It was not an easy thing to do. Again, I believe you're probably a really good candidate for that seat. But the voters spoke, and in loud numbers, and then followed up with hundreds of letters. And the voters weren't listened to, but Mr. Raffner, Ms. Halpern, and Mr. Moak, 3 people decided who was going to sit in that seat. That is not a democracy, friends. And how do we know that that was the best choice for who to sit in that seat? You sat next to Mr. Wooten for how many, 10 years? Yeah, years this man sat next to you. I mean, and you can try to make your stance that...
Thank you, your time is expired.
You'd like to, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Danielle Roybal and Genevieve Cole, maybe Gadstone, yeah, or Goldston, sorry.
Okay. Per Educational Code 35145.5, I am requesting the concerns that are brought up today to be placed on the agenda for discussion at the next board meeting. This educational code, which I have used many times before, yet the board has failed to act upon it, allows the public to put items on the agenda. Failing to do this is failing your fiduciary duty to act in oversight of the public's requests. In addition, the board's failure to follow up on the public's request is also tied to a monetary cost, as now the California Department of Education, also known as the CDE, has made a decision that DMUSD is out of compliance with requirements of the Federal Individuals with Disabilities Education Act under 34 CFR section 300.502B. The administration team has a duty of care to advise the board of my complaints, including the California Department of Education complaint. They have failed to do so. Let me explain to the board what the ramifications are, and I'm also requesting this to be added to the agenda for the next month along with the resolution plan. On or before May 1st, 2023, the district should have provided evidence that it properly trained its staff to the CDE. This should have been openly shared in a meeting. The fact that it wasn't displays that information is being withheld from the public. On or before June 15th, 2023, the district shall provide evidence that it has provided student IEEs in the areas of functional behavior and SKIA at public expense, and convened an IEP team meeting to review the results of the SKIAs and functional behavior IEEs. The district will also need to provide compensatory services. All of this should have been openly discussed. As a member of the public, the fact that it was not leads me to question the governance and efficacy of this board. The only person that I consistently see looking out for the public's interest on this board is Catherine. In addition, teachers brought up concerns of unethical activity with the administration team, yet admin is not being held accountable. It is the superintendent's responsibility to ensure that our schools are run appropriately and hold the administration accountable. In turn, it is the board's responsibility to oversee the superintendent. None of these bodies are properly performing their roles. Moreover, I have emailed the board a 2-page parental concerns letter on behalf of a very large group of parents that fear retaliation by the staff, admin team, and superintendent. This letter outlines many alarming concerns, and I requested for it to be included in your district correspondence, along with Natalie's request for someone on the board or staff to read her comments, as the retaliation restraining order you place on her prevents her from making public comment, but it wasn't included. Therefore, I'm asking you to include the letter in its entirety in next month's agenda, along with my CDE complaint findings and resolutions. Also include the letter that the Del Mar Union Teachers Association wrote to the board advising of ethical concerns and the low teacher morale survey. The public has a right to know.
Your time has expired.
I timed this. Did it really? Goodness
Thank
gracious.
you. That'd be Genevieve Coldstone. And after that would be Jonathan. With that last name.
Thank you. This is my first meeting. My name is Genevieve O'Connor Goldstone, and I have a son at Del Mar Hills and one at Torrey Hills. I'm here today because I want to put a face to our story. As you may have read by now, the petition for principal seats removal, Andrea called Child Welfare Services on the family and to this day refuses to tell them why she called for their investigation. I am that family. My husband, my child, my younger child, we are that family. We are a multiracial, Asian, Jewish, special needs family, and our younger, and despite being a former volunteer, noon duty supervisor, member of the PTA, and organizer of the World Fest at the Hills for the past 2 years, Andrea did not give me, the benefit of the doubt in coming to us to address any concerns. She still refuses to tell us why she called CWS, though admits it was her, and that it was not for the reason she led us to believe at the time. Our case was closed quickly after a month, but the stress of that experience remains to this day as questions surrounding it remain unanswered. If an involved, always present, communicative, responsive family like ours can have an intrusive investigation like this opened up on us, I worry about the possibility of Andrea or of any district staff member making the same type of call for other families. Families that perhaps speak less English, are less aware of their rights, or less surrounded by good friends, family, and neighbors. The entire DMUSD staff needs to be retrained on how to properly handle their responsibilities as mandated reporters in order to ensure that they are keeping children's welfare a top priority and not creating unnecessary stress or acting out of vengeance. We remain unsure about Andrea's motivations given her documented history of fabricating stories about children's behaviors and are distressed that she may have made up a story about our family in order to call CWS. We worry she may do the same to others and that she doesn't like, and we ask for your help in stopping her. Additionally, one of my kids has special needs, and despite the district's history of not providing needed services, our family's been one of the lucky ones and we have received support. However, these services were still being implemented and adjusted. Our child was suspended both at Del Mar Hills and at Torrey Hills when he was in 1st and 2nd grade as a 6 and a 7-year-old. Andrea suspended him for something he said, not did, when he was in a mood, to a teacher and the other principal for 2 days after an incident involving a much older student. Again, as we were adjusting the process of how to handle him, how to support him. Yet at the Hills, kids have been tackled, punched, and choked and have not received suspensions for their behavior. We'd like the board to investigate why there is differential treatment against a special needs and minority family compared to white children who have been treated differently and have actually committed violence. Andrea's inconsistent treatment across families are evidence of bias and harassment. It is the board's job to hold her accountable for her disparate actions. Under Ed Code Section 3514.5, I request these
Thank you, your time has expired.
They filed UCPs. Thank you.
She still had time. She did.
It was up and she still had time.
3 seconds. I have it back. No, it was on the screen. She had 2 seconds left.
It's recorded.
She was requesting for Ed Code 4 for request to be followed up on the next month's agenda for Ed Code.
Thank you. Next speaker is Jonathan.
My name is Jonathan Goldstone, and I have 2 kids in the district. I'm an ICU nurse, and this is my first meeting here. It took me over a week to get my shift covered tonight so that I could be here. My wife and I also went to great lengths to hire a qualified sitter to be with our special needs child, something that we do maybe once or twice a year. First, I would like to ask that the board provide childcare as well as a Zoom option at all future meetings. These 2 things will demonstrate that the board is committed to involving as many parents as possible and is sensitive to the needs and schedules of parents of elementary school age children. Second, as Principal Sleep has continued to announce, I am aware that Del Mar Hills and all district schools have received the No Place for Hate designation from the ADL. However, I want to inform the board that whatever curriculum or training this program offers has not been evident on the grounds at Del Mar Hills. There was an assembly at the beginning of the year in which the No Place for Hate pledge was read over the speaker, and students were asked to sign a poster afterwards. But other than this, it is not clear that this program is actually having any real effect among the staff at the schools, and it certainly has not reached the children. I am aware that some books were purchased at the Hills this year using PTA funds for this program, but it is not clear that these books are being read or taught in any kind of strategic way, if they have even been unlocked. I am here today to ask that the board investigate to what extent this program is actually being implemented and to hold each school accountable. It is not enough to continuously announce that the school is a No Place for Hate school or that the district schools have received this designation if there's no clear evidence of it being implemented and students receiving the education and support the program was designed to provide. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Christine Ross, and after that will be Janice Alberto.
I have twin daughters at Del Mar Heights and at Ocean Air campus in 4th grade in 2 different classes in portables by the field. On Friday, there was an intruder at Ocean Air yelling profanities and refusing to leave school grounds. My one daughter was in lockdown, hiding, lights out, and door secure for over an hour. My other daughter, unfortunately, described her scenario as, I quote, uncontrolled, looking out the window at the men on the field. She had a substitute on Friday, and learning of the lack of training provided to substitutes for these situations. As the facts continue to surface, the police have been contacted by concerned parents, and it was indicated there was no 911 call placed. It was a level 2 welfare check. This man was using derogatory hate profanity coming from the sergeant and reached our campus. There should have been a 911 call. The police did not reach the man until 11:52. The lockdown was lifted at 11:20. The man could have returned with a weapon and still no police would have been there. An intruder yelling hate profanity and possibly on a reasonable person in their own home would call 911. What about the lives of my children and all of our children? Thankfully, we were here with no lives lost and can make the needed changes and training to secure the school. Additionally, more communication is needed from the school to parents. Parents are reaching out to the police for information when this communication should come from the school. Lastly, I noticed the security at the door tonight. Interestingly, after Friday's incident, our children were not the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Janice Lota, and after that will be Shelby and Metzger.
Hello, I'm speaking today because I did not receive a response to the email I sent to Board President Mom, including the other trustees on May 1st. I sent my email in response to statements that Board President Mom had made at the April 26th board meeting that seemed to indicate that the board felt justified in using a great deal of taxpayer dollars to pay for an Ashley Falls 6th grade teacher to pursue obtaining an individual, personal restraining order against a parent, Natalie. Even though the teacher had only met Natalie one time in person and had never even received one email from Natalie. And for the district to pursue obtaining a workplace violence restraining order, particularly as these restraining orders were granted on March 29, 2022, which was just 10 weeks before Natalie's son graduated 6th grade. And thus he was no longer a Del Mar Union student. Currently, these restraining orders are in process of being appealed. And as pursuant to the Brown Act, closed session items must be included on the agenda and be described to protect the confidentiality of the subject, but at the same time described to provide the public with an idea of the topic being discussed. And as after the closed session, the board must inform the public of any approval given to counsel to defend or otherwise participate in litigation, I request to know at which closed sessions and which board members voted to approve using taxpayer dollars to pursue obtaining temporary and permanent restraining orders against a parent, Natalie,
to pursue vexatious litigant claims against her that Del Mar Union lost and that Natalie won on July 28, 2022, which was after Natalie's son graduated, and to pursue contempt claims against her that Del Mar Union lost and that Natalie won recently on March 27, 2023. I would appreciate receiving these closed session dates and which board members voted to take these actions as soon as possible. Thank you.
So I'll speak right before the meeting number, even though it's not on the agenda that way.
That's just when you turn your slip in for item 12.
Yeah, but I thought it would be under 4.21, hearing of public regarding.
That's when you turn your slip in for the numbers that you requested.
Okay.
Shirley and Matt Skinner, and then after that, Helen Doyle.
Thank you for having us. At Del Mar Hills Elementary School, our child and other children have been bullied and have witnessed bullying. Last month, our child was hit multiple times by another student while in the middle of class. After the incident, our child was called out of class and sent to the principal's office. The principal told our child to write a statement about what had happened. After writing the statement, our child was sent back to the principal's office and questioned about the statement. The principal also called several other students to her office, one by one, and instructed them to write statements about whether they had witnessed our child being hit. I requested a copy of my child's written statement, and to this day, over 1 month later, we haven't received a response. In fact, to this day, the school hasn't even informed my husband and me that our child was hit, and we're at a loss. We don't know why the school won't notify parents that their child has been struck multiple times by another student, especially if the incident is so significant that it warrants pulling multiple children out of class to question them about it and to instruct them to write statements about it. In fact, some of the students who witnessed our child being hit last month were sent to the principal's office this month to be questioned about it for a second or third time. These private one-on-one meetings are uncomfortable for the students who are embarrassed to be sent to the principal's office. And the meetings have taken on a coercive tone because they imply that the students weren't believed in their first report. Beyond that, the school doesn't tell parents about these meetings, but families have a right to know, and we want to know what's happening to our children at school. Parents should be notified when their child is sent to the principal's office. If a child has experienced bullying or is having to miss class time to write statements about other people's misconduct, then the school should inform the parent. If the parent requests a copy of their own child's written statement regarding misconduct, the school should provide it.
When the school engages in these private meetings with our child, that sets a terrible precedent. It sets the idea that it is okay for a child to meet in private with an adult, and this is not. I mean, this can be inappropriate and it can be dangerous, and it definitely impacts the mental health of the kid. Relatedly, if we're committed to making the school feel not like a prison, then we can't be pulling kids into private interrogations and having them provide written testimony against an affidavit. For all these reasons, we request that the 2 following issues be placed on the agenda for the next governing board meeting. 1, the school's failure to inform parents/guardians that the child has experienced or provided written statements with regard to physical aggression. Or 2, the school's refusal to provide the parents with their children's written statements about such incidents. Thank you guys for your commitment to transparency and open communication with parents.
Thank you, and Helen Doyle.
Hello, my name is Helen Doyle, and I'm a parent at Del Mar Hills Academy. There are many concerns that have been brought before the board recently and again this evening. To name a few: security, bullying, lack of services for special needs children, universal TK, half-day kindergarten, and the undemocratic appointment of board member Alan Polos. Personal, sir. While all these issues require thought and discussion, my top concern encompasses them all: the lack of honest, open communication and respect for parents in this district. I recently discovered sex education was pulled during COVID when a review of the material found it to be out of date, and it is unknown when a replacement will be implemented. This was not learned from any district-wide communication on the issue, but by a PTA who found an expert to speak with parents in an attempt to close the sex ed gap. In later discussions, I learned that not even all of our board members were aware that our students are being failed in this way.
We are told the best way to prevent a shooting on campus is to care for the emotional well-being of the children. While I have my doubts about the effectiveness of that in an elementary setting, it begs the question, what exactly does that mean? If we are so concerned about the mental health of our children, why did it take a global pandemic to put counselors in our schools? Why are they still not full-time on each campus? The words and presentations ring hollow without this obvious component, and I am left to wonder what else is being missed. When a stranger at Delmar Hills walked through the front doors, past the secretary's desks, through the library and onto the playground unimpeded, we did not need to be told that the nanny with the toddler was not a security threat. We need acknowledgement of the unrealistic and unfair burden being placed on the secretaries to double as security guards. We need our administration and district to see this incident for what it is, a thankfully peaceful example as to why so many parents are demanding locked doors and a mandate to implement them before school starts again in the fall. Instead, we are being stonewalled. Now, when we ask basic security questions, we are told security cannot be discussed with parents. At last month's board meeting, Member Fitzpatrick asked for many things: dissemination of half-day kindergarten survey results, an additional survey about universal pre-K, online participation for busy parents, and more. Her through line, community engagement. She was repeatedly shot down and belittled. It is shocking that she is having to fight so hard for one of the district's most basic functions. I could go on. This lack of information, transparency, and engagement is eroding our trust in the district. It is no wonder I have friends seriously considering pulling their kids from DMUSD. It is no wonder I have friends telling their friends to not send their kids to our schools. It is no wonder parents have a lack of faith that bullying is being handled appropriately. I am asking all of you to trust us. Trust us with honest and complete information where appropriate. Trust us with your decision-making process, and trust us with our engagement. It is the only way to allow us to rebuild our trust in you. Thank you.
Thank you. We now move to board reports. 117. Mr. Colos.
Thank you. So I really appreciated the opportunity to continue my outreach to the different schools and families. I was invited to attend the PTA President's Advisory Committee meeting and was there with both outgoing and incoming PTA presidents and DLAC representatives. And one of the great parts of that was just getting to know the PTA presidents, but also being invited to some really great events that I have been able to attend over the last couple of weeks. Those include the Ashland Falls Night of the Arts, Torrey Hills International Night, Sage Canyon Talent Show, and this morning the Delmar Heights Donuts with Dads. So it's not been great for my diet today between the cake and the donuts, but it's been a great opportunity to reconnect with families with all of our schools. Those are just 4 of the schools, and I intend to continue my outreach at the other schools as well. I did have a formal visit to Delmar Hills, a school visit, and it was great to see the progress being made with Spanish immersion classes and the hard work to accommodate both communities of Delmar Hills and Delmar Heights during a trying time while we're dealing with facilities issues. One of the takeaways from my donut experience was to hear some safety concerns, very similar to what we've heard tonight, and specifically the incident at Ocean Air. And I believe that all of us, including board members who don't have educational degrees, are all in the business of education. And so one of the things that I would like to follow up with staff on is the way that we educate our parents and our students on safety procedures and protocols. It was clear to me from the questions I was receiving that there was uncertainty about what procedures were so that a parent could coach their child on what to do when there are situations like the one that occurred at Ocean Air. So I think it's a process that we should undertake to help educate the community of what our protocols and practices are. If it's an opportunity to improve them, let's use that, but also use it as an opportunity to educate the whole community on what to do when these types of situations occur.
And I wasn't quite as busy as Alan. I am looking forward to the final strategic planning meeting tomorrow. I'm anxious to hear what that looks like and see what that looks like. And as somebody said, this year went by fairly quick. I think it was Mr. Cunha who said this year just kind of flew by, and indeed it has. Thank you all who came and got awards and retired, and this is one of my favorite meetings. Usually end up with a smile on my face and a belly full of cake.
Hello. First, I just have to say how impressed I was with those Ocean Air students who made the presentation. I mean, full standing ovation. That was really a remarkable presentation, and we see a lot of them. So I just wanted to say that I do think we should have a look at their recommendations for expanding the recycling program to other school sites, and I suspect that's already underway, but just in case it's not, it was really just so exciting to see the kids in action, which is what we try to teach kids, is how to be problem solvers. So I also will comment that it's really nice to really feel like we're finally in full swing with school events. Alan is coming in just right at the right moment to experience them at all the schools. I got to attend right here the Ocean Air and Del Mar Heights play, Newsies Junior, which my daughter was in, but it's really joyful to have these plays and the kids doing productions, and I know a lot of the schools have them, and I really think it's just a real gift to kids to get them on stage and give them a chance to present themselves in that way and gain that confidence. So I hope if all the schools don't have them, I definitely encourage PTAs to think about them. And also Dance Fest back in action at Del Mar Heights, which has been on pause since 2019. And so that's another one of those events that puts a smile on your face, and it's very joyful to see all the kids dancing at every grade level. And I know all the different schools have different traditions. That's what I love, and it's really nice to see them all back. So just a nod to those year-end events and to the teachers and staff and the PTAs who contribute to making that all possible. And I'll probably see a lot of you tomorrow night at the strategic planning meeting that I think Doug and I are going to, the last one of the series.
Hey, good evening, everybody. I just want to again thank and recognize all the staff that has worked so hard this year to make sure that our children are receiving the best education possible. And to those who are retiring, have fun, good luck. So this month, on May 4th, I attended the Schools for Sound Finance Spring Symposium in Sacramento. Schools for Sound Finance advises and advocates on behalf of basic aid school districts in the state of California. It was a wonderful opportunity to connect with superintendents, CBOs, and trustees from fellow basic aid districts around the state. We participated in roundtable discussions and shared on topics such as community engagement strategies and mental health and social emotional wellness programs for students, staff, and families. Key takeaways were the use of hybrid and virtual meeting forums, frequent survey administration, online accessibility for idea sharing and input gathering, and local partnerships with county and private mental health providers to support students, staff, and families. A primary focus of the symposium was on transitional kindergarten and its funding sources. It was encouraging to note that nearly every district in attendance now offers TK. In my discussions with fellow participants, I was told that TK has been an enhancement to their districts. Kindergarten programs are being revamped to meet the higher levels of incoming kindergartners, and STEAM programs, class sizes, and teacher salaries have not been negatively impacted. The only districts at the symposium who do not offer TK were Del Mar, Cardiff, and Solana Beach. Along with Rancho Santa Fe and Encinitas, we are the only districts in San Diego County who do not offer TK, and 5 out of the 8 in the state who do not offer it. I am hopeful that our district leadership can strategize with the other 133 districts in the state, 125 in the state who are making TK work and doing what is best for kids by offering this invaluable educational program. I see no reason why we cannot do what so many great districts up and down the state are already doing. Along with my fellow trustees and Superintendent McClurg, we have received many emails this month regarding this topic. We've also received many emails regarding safety, so I don't know why that was not mentioned in correspondence. And I appreciate all of you who have spoken on that topic tonight. On May 9th, I attended the school safety meeting held at Sage Canyon. I was lucky in that my son had a baseball game there that evening, and I was able to attend the meeting. Otherwise, it would have been very challenging, if not impossible, for me to attend. At the end of the presentation, those in attendance could scan a QR code to share input and ideas. Unfortunately, this is not an anonymous way to collect data, as we must enter our emails. I was also unable to open the QR code on my phone. Additionally, those who could not attend were not, to my knowledge, given access to the QR code, nor was there any opportunity provided for them to engage in this discussion process in a virtual setting. The strategic plan survey has been released, and it also requires an email to participate. We have a contract with SurveyMonkey where we can collect anonymous responses, so I encourage the district to partner with Dr. Daly in best practices for survey participation. Lastly, I was made aware of a California Department of Education investigation which found our district to be out of compliance with requirements of the Federal Individuals with Disabilities Act. I was dismayed to learn of this through the media and not directly through district leadership. I did attempt to get clarification on the nature of the findings, but unfortunately was not provided with any. Just as we instill a growth mindset in our students, this is an opportunity for our district to improve and align with our best practices. I expect district leadership to monitor the progress of the steps taken to ensure our students' needs are being met appropriately and to provide the board with updates to this end. DMUSD has been my home district since first grade, and now I entrust the education and care of my children to it. I believe we can always improve and reflect on our best practices. The presentation that we were given tonight by the students was one of the best presentations I've ever seen in my life. And I too echo the sentiment that those proposals that they shared with us tonight are implemented throughout the district. I think that they're very, very important for all school districts. There's a lot of waste with food, with plastic, and we can learn a lot from their presentation tonight. They're reflecting, they're taking the time to look at a problem and to move forward with creative solutions, so I commend them. And that's all for now.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with the students. I thought it was a wonderful presentation. And like I said before, I think those are great ideas that can be implemented. A lot of work went into that, clearly. And I just, like I said, I think that'd be a great idea to see that go across the district. A couple things I went to this month, or a couple things. I went to 2 site visits, one at Sage Canyon with Ms. Marie Parker over there, and one at Delmar Hills with Alan and Principal Sleep showing us around there. And I thought that it was, one thing I always tell people about these site visits, I really wish that everyone from the community could go through them with us. I know it's not really possible, but you would be able to see kind of students in action, see the learning taking place, and it's really incredible the work that the teachers are doing and the students are doing. I mean, in one class, I don't quite remember exactly where it was. I think it was with you, Alan, so it might have been Delmar Hills, where they were talking about all the problems that they were working on to solve, from solving homelessness to recycling issues. So they're thinking about very large problems and trying to come up with ideas and solutions to them, similar to what we saw today. So it's just fantastic, and people are able to kind of see that they really overjoyed, I think, at the work that the kids are doing. And also another thing I wanted to mention was that as Alan and I were kind of taking our tour, Principal Sleep was kind of inundated with little children, and they couldn't get away because they loved her so much. Like, they were just kept coming up to her, wanting to just talk to her, share about their days, and it was really heartwarming to see that. So those are kind of the visits I went to, and thank you, Maria, as well. She did a wonderful job of showing us seeing everything was great at Sage Canyon. They're making the best of that situation where a lot of the facilities were in a had issues from the beginning of the year, but it was a seamless transition. It looked like as if you wouldn't have noticed, and people had really made everything work seamlessly. So the other thing I was at was this past weekend I was at the Delegate Assembly up in Sacramento, and it was always a nice opportunity to kind of meet with other delegates from the San Diego region, as well as with other delegates and all over California at CSBA. One thing I was going to mention that kind of one interesting takeaway is that we should be thinking about apparently cyber attacks. Apparently it's a matter of not if, but when this occurs, and so large districts have been held to ransomware attacks, and essentially kind of get a attack on their server and are unable to access their computers. Things will get shut down, and some person anonymously out there in the dark web somewhere will say, "Hey, give me money before I can turn them back on." And this is apparently happening at multiple school districts throughout the state. And so it's something that we need to have a plan for, and I hope to have more of this discussion with the clerk. The other thing is that the annual conference, education conference for CSBA will be held in San Francisco this year. So that'll be in, I believe in the summer. And it was kind of interesting. They, I guess people may not have had the best experience there the last time I was in San Francisco, and this time they were very clear to tell us that it's much safer. So I found that to be interesting. And yeah, so I think that is it for me. And moving on to Dr. Report for Superintendent Report at 4.18.
Yes, I will talk for a moment about the cyber attack. Sam Pennebecker, our Director of Technology, along with Chris Delahanty, are very involved with the support that we receive in partnership with the San Diego County Office of Education, and perhaps we can give more information moving forward. So that is a very important conversation and topic. You're absolutely right. The school districts, we do have partnerships and a lot of protection in that area, so we'll follow up on that as well. The green team that was talked about earlier by the Ocean Air students, we've known that they've been working all year long, and that is a part of our strategic plan. When we talk about District Design 2022, we talk about student agency. It's one of our big drivers, and we talk about, you know, problem solving, critical thinking, and really looking for solutions. That is a perfect example in real life. So it's exciting to see that they had a chance to publicly share all that they're learning, and how it's so exciting to see the leadership and the voice that they exert now, and they know they're being heard. So thank you to their teachers, their parents, obviously who have been involved, as well as district administration, site principal, and Jamie Phillips, our Director of Child Nutrition Services, have been working alongside them all year. So it's exciting, and yes, it will be a part of our strategic plan moving forward. We're very excited about that. I had a chance to meet with DMCTA this past month, as I always do, and I don't know, is Kevin here still? Yes, Kevin's right there. I do want to thank DMCTA leadership, because through the course of Kevin's tenure as the DMCTA president, we have faced some of those challenging times in education. Kevin was president during COVID, and he was a part of some very important conversations with our teachers, staff, and really part of looking for solutions so that we could work together to make sure that everybody was taken care of and provided for, our teachers as well as our students. So thank you so much, Kevin, for your leadership. I appreciate your partnership with Jason, and you're a voice for teachers, and in that way you really help us do good work for kids. So thank you very much for your leadership. Very much appreciate you. Also had a chance to meet with Will regarding DMSCF. Actually attended their meeting. As you know, DMSCF is an organization outside the district, and so to be able to answer some of their questions about our district and some questions coming up regarding the state of California was a great opportunity to meet with some of their board of directors this last month. And as another board member was saying, we attended the spring symposium. It was very good to be in that conversation. You'll hear a little bit more about the budget later today. And and we had a safety meeting at Sage Canyon School, and it was well attended. We had a lot of people in the meeting and some very, very good positive feedback afterwards that really answered questions, provided a lot of information. We had Captain Del Toro from the Northwest Division there, provided some great information, so a lot of time for information sharing as well as answering of questions. So that was another very good and productive meeting that we had throughout the past month. Let's see, I think that the last thing I wanted to talk about is, I talked a little bit about it when I was talking about the CTA leadership. One thing that I do want to say, I do want to comment on what we do for kids in this district, because I think that all of this can look seamless, and it is, because there are a lot of hardworking, very smart, very courageous people who are doing the right thing for kids every single day. And I appreciate them. I appreciate their leadership at the school sites. I very much appreciate the leadership of the district office and of this board in making sure all of that happens so that everybody in this district can thrive and be the best they can be at their job, if they're a student, at whatever they are. So you can count on our team to continue to do that. As I was saying, it takes a great level of skill, expertise, and talent of a lot of people in this district who work very hard and do very good work on behalf of our district students. And I appreciate every single person who does that every day. The amount of gratitude I have was a little bit shown a little bit just by the number of people recognized here tonight and how we collectively say thank you. So thank you to everybody for making this district a great, great place for kids and for all of us to work. Thank you.
Moving on to 6 on the consent agenda, 6.1 to 6.21, 6.21 consent items. Are there any questions regarding the items?
Just one really brief question. When I was reviewing item 6.6, the agreement with California Strategies, and we're doing the statement of work, I just had a question. I understand we've been using them in the past, and this is an ongoing relationship. I was curious about how many hours per month of service do we usually get from that engagement?
Sure. How about we just, if there are questions on things, we'll just pull them out. So 6.6, we'll just pull that out. And we'll get back to your question too. But so first, I'll just take a note about which ones we're looking at. So, are there others that you have questions or want to discuss further? Okay. Go ahead. Yeah.
So, just so I'm not having to ask every month, but I would like going forward to include payees on the commercial warrant payments. I think this is like a monthly consent item, but there are no payees on that list.
6.3.
I'm not trying to pull an item, I'm just trying to make a request going forward that we include payees on the commercial warrant payments. I don't know if it's something that can be pulled because the money has been spent. I'm also asking for the revolving cash disbursements to have line items included as to what the expenses were. So this is 6.3. I'm not asking to pull it, I'm asking that going forward, we include payees on the commercial warrant payments. And I'm asking that there be line items included on revolving cash disbursements.
Okay, I appreciate that. Good. We're again asking if there are ones that you wanted to talk about further, just let me know which one we'll go through those afterwards. So could you just let me know which numbers that you're interested in pulling out?
Saying all of them.
I'm not, okay. I think let's go through them. Do you have any more that you think you want to pull out? That you, I mean,
I'm
I
just
think,
trying
I
to
don't
be
think
able
you
so that-
intended, I don't know if you intended to have that item removed. No. But I think that's.
By what I mean pulling out, it's just so we can separate them out so that if we want to go through and say, are we going to vote on all of these? If there's additional questions, we can have separated them out.
I have additional questions on a few more.
Okay, and again.
But I'm not saying I want to pull them off the consent.
No, it doesn't mean that we're pulling them off somehow. We're just separating them out in case you don't want to vote, like if you wanted to vote separately on it.
Do you guys have any more that you want to talk about? Okay. Okay, so I'll keep going.
Well,
Okay.
again, are there ones that you wish to pull out?
Yes, I'm
just
not.
giving the numbers.
I'm not saying that. I'm not. I don't know. You tell me if we need to pull them off. Okay, 6.6. We have pulled that one off. We removed that one, right?
No,
Okay,
yes, just
6.7.
Okay.
You tell me if it needs to be pulled off with my question about it.
We'll pull it off and then we'll ask the question.
Okay. 6.7, 6.9, 6.11. Okay.
Are those, is that every 6.6, 6.7, 6.9, 6.11?
Yes.
Okay. So are there any other questions regarding the other consent agenda items? No. Can I get a motion on the rest of the agenda items?
I'll move to the rest of the agenda.
So minus 6.6, 6.7, 6.9, 6.11. Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second. Are we going to vote together in a second? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right, now we can go to 6.6. All right. And Alan had a question regarding 6.6.
Yeah, it was just, just a basic question. I know it's a monthly retainer. I've worked with a lot of consultants and do that type of work, and just curious historically, and what's your anticipated number of hours per month of service we would be getting from that service provider?
So it will vary. It's been typically based on a level of need, and so we've had a relationship for a bit. What we'll expect is probably somewhere in the range of 10 to 15 hours. It could be more, depending on communication and things we may need with the relationships there with the local and state level government that sometimes come up as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions on that?
No, I move approval. Well, unless you have a question. I'd like to move it and then we can open up for questions. So I would move board approval of the consulting services for California.
Second?
All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed?
Okay.
Okay. And motion carries. Moving on to 6.7.
Yes, so I'm wanting to know how many people are attending this and who in the district is attending this?
4 people are attending this. We have 2 innovation technologists, one from Torrey Hills School, one from Pacific Sky School, Principal Allison Feeberg, and Principal Jenny Pearson from Delmar High School.
And how does all the information that they're getting at this Design Thinking Institute get transferred into the classrooms when they come back?
Our innovation technologists work with all of the students at each of the schools, and it is focused on when the participants go, they have access to curriculum, assessment guides, resources, and this learning is grounded in authentic interdisciplinary learning. So the learning occurring at the conference will directly transfer to student learning in the classrooms. Teachers also participate in the design thinking units, and so there's transfer as well among our classroom teachers.
Thank you.
Does anyone want to move for approval for 6.7? Second? those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Okay, motion carries. 6.1, or 6.9.
Yeah, so I just had a question about, this is the one. So I'm just unclear, since it's over $50,000, did we not have to have any other bids?
Well, we put out for an RFQ and we emailed it directly. We only received one bid, so we requested more and we only received one bid.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No.
Can I have a motion to approve it?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? No one? Motion carries. And then 6.11.
I guess this is the same situation, we just got one.
611, we received two, and you may note that we are awarding to the higher bidder. The reason we're going with the higher bidder in this case is that the other bidder did not provide any options for chicken when we need protein in it. And so without those options or an offer of an alternative, we wouldn't be able to run the program with the bid for the lower bidder.
Okay, thank you.
Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
All right, second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. And we are at 7, curriculum instruction. I don't think there's anything there, so we're at 8, administration policy 2.1, board review, local control accountability plan. Local control accountability plan. That inspires me.
Good evening, excuse me, good evening, Board President Moss, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Third, members of the community. It's my pleasure to provide an overview of this year's proposed LCAP. As you know, our district does have a robust strategic planning process, and that our new strategic plan is near in completion. The district strategic plan articulates DMUSD's vision, mission, and long-term objectives. Each year, priority actions related to long-term objectives are selected following feedback from stakeholders, including parents and district staff. In addition to this, the district is also required to develop a local control accountability plan, or LCAP. This plan includes goals and actions related to 8 state priorities, with a special focus on English learners, low-income students, foster youth, and those experiencing homelessness, to ensure that these students are assisted in meeting state academic goals. The 2023-2024 school year will be the third and final year of this plan. A new 3-year plan will be developed over the course of the next school year, and its first year of implementation will be the 24-25 school year. The LCAP must address all 8 state priorities, which fall under 3 categories, which include conditions for learning, engagement, and student outcomes. As shared previously, the LCAP is a 3-year plan, and many of the actions continue over the life of the plan. The plan is reviewed annually to determine if refinement of the existing actions is needed, or if there's a need for additional resources. Actions. Any new actions or refinements are informed through input from many sources, including an analysis of student assessments, data, and also observational data gathered through school visits by district and site leadership. We also use data collected through surveys completed by parents, staff, students, and other community members. In addition, we use information gathered through staff and student focus groups. Tonight, we're going to focus on the responses to our spring educational partner survey. And as you can see, participants included our parents and guardians, including those representing our English learners, students receiving special education services, and students receiving free reduced lunch. Also, our staff members participate in the survey, and community members are welcome to participate as well. The first question on this survey is connected to the academic goal in our LCAP and asked, when you think about the academic needs of all students, what is the most important for our district to think about as we plan for the future? The question asked respondents to select which of the 4 areas listed should be a focus for our students. Over 70% of the respondents selected that we should continue with high-quality professional learning. 69% identified the continuation or the continued examination of STEAM Plus systems and structures. 57% selected personalized learning experiences for students and staff. And nearly 54% selected a focus addressing student academic needs. The survey then asked respondents to identify anything else that would be important for our district to think about when considering the academic needs of our students. 4 of the most common trends included continued examination of the STEAM Plus systems and structures, ensuring our students have rigorous learning opportunities where they are challenged and develop critical thinking skills, a continued focus on academic intervention with the help of support staff. And although this part of the survey focused on the academic program being offered to our students, there were many comments indicating the continued need to prioritize student social and emotional needs as well. The second question on the survey focused on the social and emotional well-being of students and their school community. The question asked respondents to select which of 5 areas listed should be a focus for our students. Nearly 89% of the respondents selected supporting students' social, emotional, and behavioral development. Close to 67% wanted to focus on appropriate mental health interventions. Over 57% wanted continued implementation of a diversity, equity, and inclusion plan. And close to 50% wanted support to be provided to students and their families in the responsible use of technology, devices, and software, the internet, and social media. And finally, just over 43% wanted to see student engagement with industry experts with real-world connections. Participants were asked to share what else was important for our district to think about in regards to the social and emotional development of all students, and 3 trends emerged. There were many comments sharing the importance of students receiving appropriate mental health support and the need for increased availability of counselors. Related to the availability of counselors, and the trend we saw in the first question, there's a strong desire to support student social, emotional, and behavioral development. There was also a desire that our district continue to address diversity, equity, and inclusion. Using this survey data along with the other elements shared previously, LCAP actions have been proposed for inclusion in this year's LCAP. Some of these actions have been carried over from prior years, and others have been modified. For goal 1, we have the following actions. We will maintain lower class size in our district. We will have a professional learning model that will be developed which ensures differentiated support and choice for our teachers. That we will purchase and begin to implement a history social science curriculum. Sarah Raskin has been working with a team of teachers this year to pilot curriculum, and it's anticipated that a recommendation will be made to the board in June. Teachers and administrators will be provided ongoing professional learning in our district's frameworks, including CGI, creating cultures of thinking, and the essential elements of instruction. And our MTSS structures will continue to be refined at each school site to monitor the academic progress of all of our students to ensure differentiated support is provided as needed. Continuing with LCAP goals, around goal 1, we will continue the refinement of STEAM Plus learning structure, promoting student choice and differentiated opportunities based on grade. We will continue to expand good teaching teams and provide the necessary professional learning and coaching, and also ensure consistent collaboration time and support of the work of these professionals. Professional learning will be provided to refine ELD instruction or emotional needs development instruction and use of related materials with a focus on our learners. Related to this action item, we are also going to bring back our ESL classes for interested parents or adults. These were discontinued during the pandemic, and we're excited to be able to bring them back to our district again. English learners who are at the beginning levels of acquiring English will continue to be provided Imagine Learning and Literacy as a supplemental intervention tool. And finally, academic support personnel will continue to provide intervention in the area of reading and math. Every school site now has a person dedicated towards reading instruction, and we have identified a second person to support math intervention as well. This begins the actions around Goal 2, which is focused on the social and emotional well-being of our students. We will expand the number of school counselors to support the mental health needs of our students. We will be hiring 2 additional counselors, so we will have a total of 7. There will be continued implementation of a district-wide diversity, equity, and inclusion plan. We're going to expand the Web survey that was administered at K2 this year, 236. Having the same survey across all of our grade levels will allow us to see the connections across grade levels more easily. The MTSS structure will continue to be refined in order to monitor and ensure the support and the support for social, emotional, and behavioral needs. We will ensure the consistent use of second step and evaluate its effectiveness. School sites will identify research-based strategies to reduce chronic absenteeism. This is an area of concern throughout the state, in addition to, and the nation, in addition to our time here in our own district, following the pandemic. And while we, of course, don't want students coming to school when they're ill, we are seeing differences in attendance patterns in some of our more vulnerable student groups. And so that it's important that we pay attention and provide support if there are other reasons why children are missing school. And finally, a parent education series will be planned and provided. A component of the parent education series will be to provide information to parents regarding the second step curriculum in an effort to bridge home and school and support student well-being. That concludes the overview of the proposed actions. The final process for the LCAP concludes tonight's hearing. There will be an invitation on our web to our community to provide feedback on the proposed plan. That invitation will be on our website and will be emailed to parents tomorrow morning. Results of this survey will be used to inform any needed revisions. We will bring that finalized LCAP to the board in June to be considered for approval by the board. And following board approval, should be approved, we'll post the adopted LCAP on our website, and then it will also be sent to the San Diego County Office of Education as we are required to do. And so that concludes the report on the proposed LCAP. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Are there any questions?
So the proposed parent participation series for second step, do we have any idea how those will be conducted yet?
They will be planned for next school year, so they are planned in detail, but the idea would be to ensure that we are able to provide information around the content and language of the second step, so that we can ensure that there's a homeschool connection around the content of that.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, when I was at the spring symposium, a lot of districts are still using second step. It seems to still be like one of the most popular ones. So I think if we can help facilitate families using it at home, that's great. I just always am encouraging, let's please make sure that we're giving parents who cannot attend in person an option to participate and engage as well. Probably through a virtual option. The survey that's being sent tomorrow to families, is it going to be one that requires people to enter identifying information like their email addresses?
No, it's a link to a Google survey that provides an opportunity for open-ended written feedback, and there's not, emails are not required.
Okay, because I know that the last survey that was sent out to, I don't know if it's because it's Google, but you have to put your it seems like you have to put your email address to get into it. The last survey that was sent, you have to put an email address, the strategic plan survey, that's on the website, you have to put your email address. So I just think that that's, like, right there, that's the first thing that people have to do. It's not always been that way, so I really do think that it's important for everyone to feel like they can share information freely without having to put in an email address. I think that that's something that we can think about, hopefully.
Well, as I said, with the survey that's going out tomorrow, there's no email required.
All right, great.
So there's nothing additional, and that was just a board review, so I thank you very much. 8.2, board report, superintendent review of district goals. Dr. McCook.
Good evening. As I periodically do, I'll share some of the updates on a few select goals for the year. As you know, we have district goals that are aligned to propel us forward with our District Design 2022 long-range objectives, and we have annual priority actions each year. So this evening, I will provide some information about our 3 levers, as I always do. Lever 1, our strong academic core and high quality instruction. Lever 2, the skills that matter most, and lever 3, environments. So we'll start with lever 1, and we'll update on a little bit tonight. You've heard already some about. This is our lever about strong academic core, our strong academic core and high quality instruction. And when we reflect on the year, it is such a strength in our district. You've heard a lot about several different parts of it this evening already, and Vivian just shared through the LCAP what are some of the strategies we have had in place and put in place as we look to the future to make sure that we meet the needs of all children academically. And when we look at, how are we doing? We're a top performing district in the state of California. We're in the top 1% in language arts and mathematics by those measures that are looked at by the state. And our subgroup of special education, those kids that we really look at for are we meeting their needs, high performance on the California school dashboard in both language arts and mathematics. So those priorities are quality first instruction as well as the supports that we have in place for every child in the district absolutely make a difference and are working. So it's nice that data actually supports that and shows that, because we have that quantitative data as well as qualitative data that we see every day in our classrooms. We also have our Amplify Science, which you've heard a little bit about already. It has been a very successful implementation. Thank you so much to our entire instructional services department, all of our teams at schools. Sarah Raskin has been a huge part of it. Professional learning responsive to teacher needs is an incredibly robust school Google site where teachers can access information about units of instruction. Resources on the Google site curated by teacher leaders throughout our district, shepherded by Sarah Raskin. As I was saying, just a fantastic, robust way to implement a very comprehensive science curriculum and program. So to see that it's been so successfully rolled out at every grade level, at every classroom. In addition to that, we have a science resource room, and there are a lot of hands-on components to this Amplify Science curriculum that are fantastic, and we had to have a way of making sure that teachers and students have access to all of those hands-on materials. So you might remember that we actually
actually created an actual resource room. It happens to be at Torrey Hills, where we have a way of dispensing the materials, the kits, when teachers need them, and then they're returned back to that resource room. They're restocked, refilled, and then sent to the next teacher who needs it for their class. So it is a very effective and cost-efficient way of handling what you can imagine in a district-wide curriculum such as science. Have a lot of pieces that are, you have microscopes and you have straws and pipe cleaners. I mean, there's a lot of moving pieces with that. And in order for it to be used, it needed to be organized and well done. So kudos to our Instructional Services Department and Sarah Raskin for such an outstanding implementation. Shelley, thank you for your leadership in that area. Another area I'll speak to, this is again our believer number one of our big frameworks is great cultures of thinking. And our work with Ron Richard has been extraordinary. I will tell you, Ron Richard, he is a researcher, author, professor with Harvard Project Zero, has been his background. He is now working with only a couple of very select districts in the entire world. He has some identified select districts in Australia and Delmar Union School District, because we sustain the kind of deep thinking and deep work. Our leadership at the school sites, obviously the instructional services team really sustains that work to really get at what are the practices that we use and implement in our classrooms that generate the depth of thinking and understanding and critical thinking and problem solving in our children across the disciplines. It is very complex to do, and our teachers are outstanding, and their expertise has grown immensely by our partnership and work with Ron Richard and Cultures of Thinking. So that is really exciting to see after several years now how robust it is in our classrooms. Lever 2, I'll pull out a couple of things here. This is our lever, the skills that matter most. So we talk about student well-being. Vivian just did a beautiful job talking about second step and that we're expanding, and we expanded this year, actually doing a survey with kindergarten through second grade, and it's exciting to think now how we can extend that same survey through our upper grades. And this year we did offer a parent speaker series of events. We had three parent speaker series that were virtual, so it was a great opportunity for our parents to be able to participate virtually with that series of parent speaker events. It really got at helping parents with the things that they had commented on and were voicing the most with kids that had a variety of just meet all of our kids. It's an anxious time and dealing with stress and when to consult doctors, and it was just very informative and very interesting, and we had good participation. So it's something to look at in the future as we look at our parent speaker events and how we can continue that ability to participate. Then with diversity, equity, and inclusion, we are continuing our work as a school with our conversations with staff, our conversations with parents. We have a wonderful advisory team that has continued to provide input on our district's work. And our goal here is to have every student thrive. Every student, every adult in our district thrives. And so that is such a well thought out, objective, and way to go about it to bring people into the right conversation. So we'll continue that moving forward as well. We've made great progress. Our focus groups, we've expanded our focus groups throughout the year, using student focus groups in even more ways to include students of all ages and backgrounds and experiences, and lots of different people in addition to principals and teachers actually getting input and hearing the voice of students, which actually we hear a lot of our students tonight. So it's great that we have opportunities for them to actually tell us what they need from school. And then expanding the opportunity for staff and parent participation in focus groups. So being able to go to every school site and listen to parents, and we actually changed how we were scheduling staff focus groups based on input from our staff, because they wanted it done during their work hours, so we were able to actually schedule that throughout the year so that we had a chance to hear from all of our staff members during the school year, and so that was great too. So some great input from our teachers and staff to see how we get lots of voices in the room. So lever 3 is environments, and we have continued transforming our learning environments. It's exciting to look at how much progress we've made. As we went into this year, we had modernized 44 learning studios as classrooms, and we have 27 additional ones planned for the summer.
It really is such a driver when we're talking about what is it that makes a difference with our children and how they engage within the classroom. And, you know, I think back to a time not all that long ago when school looked very different. We saw a lot more just generally in education, a lot more worksheets where a lot of the children were all doing the same thing, and pretty much it was happening in kind of an isolated, solitary manner with a child at a desk. When we transform how we actually provide engaging experiences for children and allow them to be involved in deep levels of thinking and meaningful learning, it does require that they're able to engage with learning and the environment in a very different way. So the environment makes such a difference, and we're seeing that play out by, you know, it does show our aspirations, and it really does, our environments are really speaking to our promising ideas about learning and what learning should look like. So, you know, we're about adapting to differences in learning modalities and preferences rather than constricting and controlling. Our kids have different ways of learning, they need different things, and there's not no one size fits all or one right way to do things. And so our environment's allowing for that. It's so very powerful. So it's exciting to see all of that work continue. And with our planning and the wonderful work with our facilities department led by Chris, and Carlos is here, we have a plan that affects today's kids. Every child in our district, every teacher, every one of those learning spaces is being impacted with these modernizations. It's not just, you know, oh, we might get to your school several years down the road, or if you're lucky enough to have the brand new school and you'll have this. Our plan actually addresses every child's needs right now. So that's been such a major success story. And our major building project at Del Mar High School, we've had an end to the litigation for Del Mar High School, and construction is underway. Huge accomplishment for the school year, and we're excited for those kids to be able to attend their neighborhood school in the future. So you've heard a lot of updates throughout the year, and sometimes I'm the one giving them during this particular time, and a lot of them are other presentations that you hear other staff members make about our district goals. So again, thank you to the board for your strong vision and direction throughout the year.
Thank you, Holly. Thank you for continuing to keep us updated as to the progress of district goals. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Just a comment. I agree that school really has been transformed in the time that I've been here. It does look very different, and thank you for your vision and leadership in guiding the district and facilitating all the many parts of input and collaboration and training, all the things that make that happen, because the school experience really is different. And I remember seeing the black and white photos of the lines of desks saying, we're going to transform the school experience, and like, here we are. So it's very exciting to be at this moment, and as we're getting into the strategic planning, finalizing the strategic planning, seeing that, you know, much of it is just going to be continued from what's already been achieved. So just want to make sure I mention that, and thank you for your work on that.
What else? Thank you very much. I guess you could stay there for the point 3 strategic plan update and board report.
Strategic planning process update. As you know, every month I've been doing that as we've gone through these last several months this year, going through our strategic planning process. And so we're at a very exciting place in this process right now. Tonight I'll give an overview on the strategic design team meetings that have been going on and continue, and then the process timeline where are we with everything. So again, I come back to the board's direction and vision for this to be a collaborative process focused on creating a common understanding of what our district wants to achieve and what we need to do to meet our long-range goals and realize our vision. So as far as where are we in the process, we're way down the list now. It's been a lot of meetings, a lot of conversations, a lot of listening, a lot of surveys, a lot of putting the information together, what is this telling us, bringing it back to the team, team. So you can see there where tomorrow we have our next strategic design team meeting, 3, and it'll be right here, and we're excited to have that team be back together again, and all are welcome to attend. And then we are planning to bring to the board on the June board meeting the strategic plan for board approval. So one of the big accomplishments of the portrait design team, as you know, we went through a very collective process to land on these core competencies. And I'll tell you what this team of people that were coming together to create this portrait of a learner consisted, as you know, of parents and staff and community members, as well as people had a chance to weigh in with a survey, and our students were a big part of it because they had been part of focus groups as well. So it's exciting to have landed on these competencies: adaptability, critical thinking, global citizen, emotional integrity, learner's mindset, and depth of knowledge. And to each of those, with each of those areas is a very comprehensive and friendly, for children also, description of what it means. So what does it mean to be adaptable? If you're adaptable, you respond productively to feedback, and you understand how to respond to setbacks. You understand, negotiate, and balance diverse views and beliefs to reach workable solutions. So those kinds of descriptions help us to figure out how do we make a portrait of a learner come to life all the way from our youngest learners through 6th grade. So it's been exciting to see that we've landed on these very excellent competencies. So then we moved from that, the development of the portrait of a learner, into the strategic design meetings. So we had a design meeting in April, another design meeting in April, where we looked at now how do we make this actionable and articulated this into a multi-year plan. And we looked at what were some of the long-range categories and themes, and then came up with and started looking at, okay, these are the big themes, which we ended up calling them. We got a lot of feedback about, don't change all the language, we understand what levers are, so we continue to call them levers, even though they're going to be different levers. Our district design 2022 had 3, it looks like we're landing on 4, so that's what the draft plan has now. So 4 levers, and then what would those long-range objectives be in order to propel us forward over the next 5 years or several years as we really implement the strategic plan. So that's been exciting, and we're going to be tomorrow meeting with the team to look at those, get input on those, as well as then the strategy. So those priority actions, because what we do as a district team, all of us, is we look at that then regularly on a regular basis, annually, to how do we then strategize and set forth priority actions that help us move along each step of the way each year. So that's what we'll be looking at tomorrow with the whole team. So we're excited about that as well. And we'll get some input on that draft plan. We've also got the draft plan, those levers and 5-year objectives posted on the website, and we sent it out to our community, and so we are excited to be getting feedback on those levers and objectives. One of the big directions, as you know, from the board has been that this was an inclusive process, and so it has been very open with, providing opportunities for our community to participate. The board, to the greatest degree possible, wanted people to have opportunities in different ways to participate. So as a result of that direction, that vision, we sent an open invitation to anyone who wanted to attend, letting them know. We did it in multiple ways. Of course, we have access via email to our community, and on our website we did a press release in the local newspaper. So we really wanted people to know it was open, and we encouraged people to be a part of it. We had hundreds of participants throughout the process, in one way, shape, or form, giving us their thoughts, having a voice, providing input on the plan. And so we're excited about all of those touch points that we've had with our students, with our staff, with our parents, and our community to get a lot of input and community involvement. So our next steps, as I was saying, tomorrow we have our 3rd strategic design team meeting where we'll get input on the draft plan, and we got the survey out, and we'll be looking at the survey input and referencing our plan to see what are the themes, and does our plan reflect the themes of what we're hearing in the input and what people are saying, because we want, obviously, to have a plan that actually does push us forward where we want our children to go in the next several years. So this is interesting because if we look back on, this is actually the priority action for this year, 2022-23, specifically around the strategic plan. So identify the process for creation of a long-range plan, which we did, to include identification of participants, timeline, and format. We selected a company. We've been working with Patel for Kids to support the strategic planning process. We set out in our priority action to determine multiple ways to involve all people who were interested, which I just shared with you, conducting relevant surveys to inform the plan moving forward, we set out to articulate a long-range multi-year plan, which we anticipate being able to bring forward in June, and then identify industry experts as partners in the development of the next phase of strategic planning, which of course we have included community members throughout and are excited about our Better Together partnership with Professor Daly and UCSD as we move forward, and include them as experts in designing, what metrics are we setting out to measure, and how will we measure our progress along the way. So we're excited about that as well. And as I said, we plan to bring it to the board in June. Next meeting is tomorrow, so all are invited, and we're excited about the process.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Thank you for everybody that was involved in this process.
I just have a question. With regard to the survey, is it too late to allow those that want to be anonymous to comment?
As far as the comments, I think people could, as far as the survey, I don't know. I would have to look at the survey and see.
Apparently you have to put your email in, I think that.
Yeah, we'd have to look at the survey and see.
If it's possible, can you do that?
You could just make that not a mandatory field, keep the same survey assets.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll follow up.
Anything else? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
On to 9.1, board report for facilities update. Crystal.
Good evening, President Mott, members of the board, clerk. This evening we are doing our facilities update, and I'm happy to be joined by Carlos Avalos, our Director of Maintenance Operations Facilities. And so we will be covering Delmar High School rebuild, Sky School, and Delmar Hills Academy modernization. And Carlos is going to take us through the Delmar High School rebuild and the Sky School. He is on the ground doing the day-to-day interactions. He's overseeing a lot of the work on it, and Carlos is instrumental right now in all of the actions that are happening. I'm there at our weekly meetings at Delmar Heights, but Carlos has really been a big part of it. So I'm going to ask Carlos to share a little bit more.
Good evening, President Mock, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Clerk, Cabinet. It's a pleasure to represent to you the facilities update for the Delmar Heights School rebuild. So, as you know, we restarted the construction on March 6th of this year. We still have the anticipated completion date of late May of 2024. And then we plan on bringing updated cost impacts to the June board meeting. As you know, we've been delayed with the project, so there will be additional costs that the board will have to view, and that'll be brought forward to you at the June board meeting. Currently, there's about 50 workers on site daily from grade work, plumbing, electrical. Currently, they're doing footings, underground utilities, prepping for the concrete pads, and then I'll share some pictures of the site work that's been happening throughout the last couple of months. So the top picture, you can see a panoramic view of the construction site. The bottom picture, on the left side, you can see that pad. That, as the view, as you can see, is the Innovation Center. So that's the stage that you'll be walking into. It's a pretty cool picture. You can see right there how it's graded, and you see the elevation change on the actual stage itself. On the right side, you can see part of the footings that have been prepped and ready to get the utilities laid down, and then they'll start pouring the concrete into those areas as well. Next, I'll report on the Pacific Sky School. This will likely be the last time we report on the Pacific Sky School as we bring forward the notice of completion. I'm happy to report that the final project overall cost was reduced by $2.5 million. And I'd like to thank Erickson Hall and their collaboration throughout the process and the project itself as we work to close out and minimize the overall cost of that entire project. I'll turn it back over to Chris to report on the market.
Carlos? So as I've shared with the board over the last couple of months, Del Mar Hills Academy is over budget, and so what we're bringing tonight is project and budget options, and then we are looking for board direction because we will need to move forward in one direction or another, knowing that time still becomes of an essence when we think about escalation that we've seen over the last couple of years, and delaying decisions can lead to time and then potentially money that's impacted there. As I shared with the board, we'll start with the original budget. So the original budget was approximately $20 million. This is an overall project budget that we had put in place. We've also talked about the construction budget. To give it the overall, we're looking at the overall budget today. And so we looked at a couple of things that have come up in our conversations with Erickson Hall, having them on as the pre-construction for the leaseback, and Line Office, the architects. And as they're looking at the campus, and you think about the Del Mar Hills campus, the single point of access, the downhill grades, and then the layout of the school, it is going to be more costly to construct with students on site. It's becoming apparent through our work with the contractor. And a couple of the things that they are bringing up in the conversations we've had over the last couple of months are likely downtime and phasing and the potential costs to start up and stop. So because it's a one single building and it's interconnected, the ability to start a portion of it and then be able to move into other stages is something that would likely mean that we would start, we get through, maybe half of the school year, and you get all the work you could get done, and then you'd be at a point where you couldn't move without moving everybody around and rearranging the school. And so then we'd likely have a stop. That leads to costs because we're starting, we're stopping, we're pulling people off, we're restarting projects. So there's some issues that would likely arise from there. The other option would be off-site, which could be done then in 2 summers with a school year in between. This would obviously require busing and location at another school or schools. And we would, as we did with Del Mar Heights, we would want to, if we move down this line, have conversations with the community of Del Mar Hills. We have to be looking at enrollment and where we might have students located and do some engagement and have some conversations. However, this would allow the startup, the phasing across, or not phasing, but you're building out the phases of the project across the whole school site and being able to do it in that shorter time period without the starts and stops. Based on those 2 phasing impacts, we were able to get potential pricing. These are cost estimates, obviously, so they aren't going to be exact, but they're going to give us an estimate as to where we would be on it as designed. So we shared the design with the board. We've looked at the design, and as designed, it included the must-dos we had for code, and that included the seismic retrofits, the walls we had to do, the roofing, the HVAC, some of our ADA improvements, and it included classroom improvements. So improvements to each of the classrooms and some improvements in the common learning spaces in the STEAM and the Innovation Center. With a phase on-site, the cost estimate is coming in about $6 million over budget. If we had students off-site, excluding housing and busing, we could look at housing and busing in there, but off-site would be about almost $3 million over budget based on the estimates we were getting. That's why it's taken us a little bit to come back, because we wanted to get from them then what could we do if we tried to remove some things and bring it as close to a on-budget project for the board. When we looked at that, we asked them to include the must-dos per code and very minimal classroom improvements, really stripping it down to what could we do if we start getting to the level that's making us do a seismic retrofit, which is when we start touching the roof, we're doing the sprinkler systems that's going to make us get into those walls and replacing the walls. Because of all that work that's required by code, we looked with students off-site, we're $1.5 million to $2 million over budget. I did not ask them to go through the step of a phased off-site because the goal of this exercise was to get us as close as we could to budget, and a phased on-site would obviously be more expensive, as you can see, based on the estimates we had there. So what we're seeing then are that
construction as designed, if we did it on-site and had a phased approach that would probably take 2 school years, would cost about $26 million is the estimate. Students off-site as designed doesn't include housing and busing, but we have to look at where do students have to go to give us a little bit more idea on what busing might cost, and then look at housing being potential portables that would be needed depending on the location. Would be $22.8 million, and then if we stripped out much of the classroom improvements, we get down to $21.7 million. I will share with the board, it does concern me to go over budget, but it also concerns me to strip it down to no improvements in the classroom, because then we're looking at a project that really isn't going to impact the kids as much as we hope. And I do have a concern about if we're redesigning, does that take time that leads to us eating into some of the savings? So at this point, I don't think we have, I'm providing you no perfect option, and I recognize that. But I'm also going to stand here and share that I think that our goal throughout, as we talked about earlier, is to impact kids. We've been trying to go out and impact classrooms at every school site, and so I have a concern about a modernization that doesn't impact classrooms. And so with that, I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you for going through all these details. I just have a clarification. So, and I agree with you, there's no point doing a project not making classroom improvements, but when looking at the math here, it says $22.8 million without minimizing classroom improvements, and $21.7 million with classroom improvements. So is the difference in those two numbers what you're spending classroom improvements, and the rest of it is being spent on seismic retrogrades and all that kind of stuff?
For the most part, and there are things that will make some improvement because they have to be done with the walls. There are some things that will improve, like internet infrastructure, things that have to be done because it's already in there, and so it doesn't save us some money to pull them out. But much of the classroom, there isn't a huge amount of reconfiguration, so it's really that we're going to be able to do some, it's taking out casework, it's taking out things like some of the improvements that we'd be able to do with the innovations team. So really there is, the bulk of the work, yes, is in infrastructure, roofing, and really that wall replacement is a hugely expensive piece to it.
Okay, so what does the $21.7 million get us as far as just not having a whole plan in front of me? Just remind us, apart from the required things, what is better about the school as a result of this?
The structure itself and the infrastructure and the classrooms will look basically the same. There's some minor, we're going to have to do some walls and things, so it will look freshened up, but it won't. The Innovation Center won't have any change. The classrooms would have very minimal change. So it would look much like it does now, but freshened up. And so if we do it as designed, we'd be making some more improvements to casework and other things to improve the classroom experience and include the Innovation Center and student spaces that are adjacent to the Innovation Center.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like a while ago, it was just gonna be construction over summers. Was that? Okay?
Well, we talked about looking at, is there a way to just do construction over summers? Once we got to the point where we had to replace walls,
So that's why
no
it's
longer an
changed,
option.
because they've realized that more.
And that was that big
Yeah.
investigation we had to go through,
Right.
and looking at what was DSA going to require, doing a report that we can sense and work with them. And so once we got to that point, really those cast in place concrete walls, to modernize them, you really can't, you have to brace them, and so it becomes it's almost more it is more cost effective to just replace them.
Okay. And what would it look like having the construction on site with students on site?
You would segregate portions of the campus. It happens actually pretty regularly in modernizations. Most modernizations are done with students on site. You segregate portions of the campus that are being used, being occupied by the construction team that's doing the modernization. Portables are often used for students during that time, and then a portion of the campus is used that still is accessible, and then you may over a summer flip that and have a different part of the campus.
So nobody has to leave, you just get some portables and place them, so there's
Right, and so what we
no
did-
need for another school site.
Correct. And what we'd imagine, and we've imagined this with most of our modernizations, is by using portable classrooms, temporary classrooms, and phasing construction, you can do the construction without having to move kids around, because if we move kids around at every modernization, we're having this revolving door of trying to find spaces for students pretty much every year. And so typically modernization is done with students on site. You find the least impactful way, and the dustiest, biggest stuff's done over summer, and then there's things that's more interior during the school year.
Okay, so off-site, everybody goes off-site, could be done in 2 summers, you don't need any busing over the summers in 1 school year. What's the busing cost per year? What's it been to Ocean Air?
The busing cost each year has been in the,
Including gas.
So that's right, and it depends on when we had to add in our, the coach lines, at a portion of time this year, that doubled the cost. For summer in the range of $500,000, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars.
But that's just for 3 grades. This would be, everyone would be going somewhere different, right?
Yes, so I don't have an exact number, but I would expect that busing and housing would be somewhere in the range of $500,000 to $1 million.
Okay.
And that's a very rough estimate, but we could get a stronger estimate. We also, knowing where they're going, whether we have to add portables, just how much space, so there are some unknowns in that would have to be investigated, but could be investigated while we're doing the design work as well.
I mean, do we have projections once Summer Heights is finished, May 2024? I'm assuming this wouldn't start until that's finished. That we could, I mean, not the whole school, I don't think all of Delmar Hills could fit in Delmar Heights.
I don't, all Delmar Hills would not fit in Delmar Heights. We would obviously investigate.
Not just
open
like
spaces,
we've been doing.
Yeah, around the district, that's what our options would be.
Yeah.
We haven't done that yet.
Okay, thanks.
Do we know what the people at that school want?
No, we have not had conversations. I think that there also is a notable cost difference. And so I think that it was important to have a conversation with the board before we started having conversations with the community. And so to move to if it's an option to do a phased on-site, that is a much bigger increase to the budget. If that's the direction from the board and we want us to go through the process that way, then we will follow the board's direction. But I will just note that that is a notable increase. That could be a $6 million increase to the budget if we decided, based on that input, that we wanted to keep students on site for a phased project.
Well, we're getting back $2.5 million on the other project, right?
Yes.
It's not 6, it's 4. Less than.
And
Phased on site would be $26.1 million, and the current budget is $20 million.
What's the timeline on this, Chris? Do you need us at this point to tell you what direction?
Ideally, I would get direction at this meeting, but if you would rather have us move forward with work on it as designed, or look at the reduced option, because we will have to ask them to start doing some redesign if we're doing the reduced option. We would like to get to DSA by the end of this year or the latest January. And so there is a construction document timeline that is multiple months to get to construction documents that can be reviewed by DSA. And so we need to be able to get them moving on that. I'll be honest, we could gather some input, but there isn't. The other thing I will just share, we were just at Capital Advisors May Revise, and there was a woman who was speaking, looking at construction cost increases, and she noted that over the last 2 years it was 13%, followed by 9%, and they're expecting double-digit increases again. So we looked at 30% increases over 3 years. I'll be talking about the economy going forward, and there are some headwinds in the economy. That doesn't necessarily mean that construction is going to go down in cost. So one of my concerns, all that being said, is delaying the decision could potentially mean further increases in costs, because we've been seeing it over the last couple of years.
I couldn't, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I thought from the previous, when they said you were thinking about having a budget workshop to kind of have this more thoroughly discussed at that point. Is that out of question? Is that not going to make it?
I think that we need to do that, looking at the overall bond program. We need to look at, because I'll also be bringing back Delmar Heights next month, and I can tell you it will be an increase. We had a year where we couldn't work on construction. That year was 10% escalation for all the construction, and so we are going to be vetting those costs, and we'll bring them back, but that project, and it will go up as well. And so, worked to bring projects in under budget, and we were able to do it with the Civics Guide, but,
So I'm wondering, like, do we need to look at that in totality of the circumstances? Like, do we need to look at it, Delmar Heights, Pacific Sky, the decrease in that, and also this, and could we schedule that for some time soon, and then we maybe have a more thorough discussion on that, or do you need this information from us in this direction right now?
we could probably.
I'm not going to give direction on this. I don't feel like this is fair to our Delmar Hills community. We have to inform them that they have the potential to be losing a lot here. And without sharing that information to the community, I don't feel comfortable making that decision without them being, I mean, I understand you've given this presentation tonight, but I don't see a lot of parents from Delmar Hills here. So it's important for them to.
I absolutely agree. And I'm advocating that we move forward with the project as we've described to the Delmar Hills parents. I understand exactly where you're coming from, President Law. It impacts the overall program. I think that looking at all of the projects and doing some of the work we need to escalate what the projects in the out years cost, and factoring in the modernizations which we've done with the other projects that we've done. So we have classrooms that have been done at every school site, and trying to get a really true number that we can share with the board is going to take a little bit of time. So I don't know that I can get that put together for a budget workshop before the next board meeting. Do we potentially have time to come back to this next month? Yes, but I think if we wait till the end of the summer, or we wait multiple months, that I have concerns about how that potentially impacts the timeline and being able to get to DSA and be able to start the project in summer of 24.
Yeah, that's
I'm inclined to say that it's my feeling that I want it to impact the classrooms. Okay, so that leaves us with two choices, really, from my perspective. Whether it's on-site or off-site. And that's the question I asked you, is what do the parents and the students want there? So I think it limits or it eliminates some of the other options if others agree with me that we want it to impact the classroom. So it breaks it down into two questions. And I don't have an answer for that, and I would agree with Catherine, I don't think we're equipped to have an answer for that.
I'm just also very hesitant to move forward right now with kind of involving the Delmar Hills community. However they may seem, to provide them some information that help, potentially your kids might be off campus for a couple of years.
Can I ask you if the hesitation of the board is on moving forward in general, or is there a potential desire to talk about the construction without the classroom modernizations? Because I would venture that the Delmar Hills community will not be in favor of that. So if the question was about whether we do phased on-site or students off-site, I think that's something that can be fleshed out, and we can have some conversation. I will share, obviously, there's a significant budget impact to doing it on-site likely. But if we know that we're going one of those two routes, there are parallel pieces going here. One of them is the development of construction documents for DSA. If the board is thinking that one of the two options for construction and as it's designed and not changing the design, that direction alone would allow me to move forward with the design process. If there's still uncertainty and we need more discussion, I understand, but if that's where, I guess my question is there any potential for the board to direct me to reduce the project and reduce the scope and do the bottom example? Because if not, then I can move forward with construction documents. I can move forward with design, and we can figure out whether we're doing it the phased on-site or having students off-site. If that makes sense.
So I may be repeating the sentiments here, but the first thing I want to know, and this is from this morning when I was talking to Hills and Heights parents and the impact that busing has, I want to hear those voices and how it's going to impact them during the project. If the answer is there's a preference to go in one direction, but it costs more money, then I want to ask the next question, which is, so where does that money come from? And look at the big picture, as you were mentioning, Jiwon, of the other projects and the other things. If I take $1 million or $2 million to put towards this project, what am I not going to be able to spend that on? Whether it's one of the 2 projects that we're talking about now or in the future. So I want to answer those 2 questions in that order. First, starting with the community input, and second, with the dollar amount issue. Now, if there's a sense of timing where you need to give direction and you believe that there's a high likelihood that you can move forward with certain documents and there's not a big cost to it, or we're going to feel like we lost because we had to give a change in direction based on those 2 questions, if it's really costly, I think we should wait. If you're able to give some direction to move forward directionally, so you don't lose time, I would support your discretion on that. But I still go back to the 2 main questions of community input and big picture of capital expense.
And we can only tell them to move forward if they're going to do it as designed, or they're going to change the design. If we're not sure which direction we're going, then they need to stay stopped for the time being until we figure out whether we're going direction A or direction B. Because there's really 2 design directions we're all talking about, and there's 2 ways that it impacts the school setting.
Did you take into consideration that $2.5 million that's coming back for Pacific Sky in the overall analysis of how much money is out there to do these projects, or is that still part of the Pacific Sky budget? We're over budget there, we're not using it for anything other than that. But in reality, we can take a look at $2.5 million in savings from that project and possibly apply it across the board even to this project.
So yes, it can be, we look at it as a totality, and that's why we need to talk about the bond program as a whole. And I would just caution that I'm going to come back next month, and Heights is going to have an increased cost. So if Pacific Sky negates this, there still is increased cost coming, and then the impact to the overall program. So I recognize that this is in a perfect world and no escalation, we would stop and look at where are we with the whole thing and not have to move forward with Del Mar Hills right away. But the constraints are trying to meet a goal of starting construction in summer of 24 so we can have an impact and impact that school sooner or later. And if you wait another year, in all likelihood, construction costs go up. So that's why there is some need to make a decision on it.
Again, my feeling is I wanted to, certainly with Del Mar Heights and Del Mar Hills, the 2 oldest schools in our district, because from my perspective, having seen it, they pushed Prop MM over the finish line. And so I don't want to shortchange them, certainly in their classrooms. Not that I want to shortchange anybody. As you said, we're not living in a perfect world and the costs are going up. But those 2 projects, I think, I would like it to impact the kids.
I think everybody's saying that we can't make decisions based just on this one slide, and that there's more to be done to sort this out, whether it's the budget workshop or community outreach or analysis.
So I guess I need to ask what more information does the board, and a little direction, what information the board would like to see?
I would love to see.
Takes a minute. I'd love to see how much we have left in our bond funds and what we have allocated going forward. All the projects out there that still need to be done. How much we've allocated to each project. Something like that.
Absolutely, that's what I proposed for budget workshop. We have the unknown of Del Mar Heights, which has held us from being able to true up all of the numbers. I do not believe that I will be able to bring a proposed budget to the board, update the work that we need to do to verify the numbers for the Del Mar Heights new number, and update the whole project list by the next board meeting. So we can do as much as we can on that. We'll be able to share information on Del Mar Heights. We'll have a true final number on Pacific Sky with that reduction, and we'll these numbers will stay true for another month, but I agree, and I think in a perfect world, I agree, Catherine, it's just that there's a lot that needs to be done to do all of those things that need to be done in the next month.
I understand, but we know what all the projects are that are out there, and we know how much we received in the MM funds. I mean, do you have some, I mean, I would imagine you have an overall plan for everything.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, a snapshot of that would be great. And also, whatever we can do to outreach to Delmar Hills families and the community at this point, to provide them with this updated information, to give them these options, to let them know what the costs associated are, and get input from our families and from the community. You guys bring that back to us.
Chris, it sounded like you had a lot of timelines issues. Going back to the question of, you're essentially asking us, do you want to keep the design as is, or should we think about reducing it? And I kind of may have missed it. Eric, I think, was originally asking what the cost difference of that, which is, I think, $1 million, it looks like. And I may have missed that part, and I'm sorry if you can kind of go back to that. Is it a significant cost difference between the two?
So it is about $1 million in the estimates based on what we've gotten from our work with Erickson Hall, is that by pulling those pieces out, again, we're in a middle design spot, so it's cost estimates. So there are some contingencies and things in there to make sure that we're not under budgeting it. So again, the cost estimate is not going to be exact, but it is the best estimate that we can get at this point in time.
So essentially keeping the same is $1 million more than reducing it.
Between $1 million and about 4.5 million, 4.4 million, depending on the option you do. But yeah, the minimal, if we do students off-site, we're talking about $1 million difference.
I mean, for me, it's like we're only talking about $1 million.
That's presuming you're moving students off-site.
Yeah.
So, and that's
But that
talking
being
to
said,
the community.
if we keep students on campus, it's probably close to $1 million too, because to keep students on campus, we're still under the same phasing issues, and the cost for construction with the reduced level will be higher than that 21.7 million, because we will still have the same issues of downtime, phasing, startup stop. So you're not going to see, if we change it, it will cost more to phase it. I didn't get an exact number on that because of timing and trying to get the board the closest we could get to the budget.
So I'm kind of inclined to kind of say, let's keep the design the same, and then if it's then the phasing and those kind of issues, something we go back to the community with about how they wanted to approach it that way. But in terms of design-wise, I think that me personally, I think that obviously it's going to cost a little more. But in the context of the things, maybe you can provide the direction right now, that kind of saves us out down later when construction costs potentially increase, so we're not giving him the information that he needs at this moment.
If we give direction to stay with the original design, and you go to DSA with that design, can there be some sort of design engineering of sorts that would reduce that in certain areas? If we want to save money in this spot, we can save money, and maybe in that spot save money, but not do a wholesale removal of classroom enhancements.
It's not going to save us enough money, and that's what we look at. So the difference, if we look at it, is $1 million, maybe a little bit. So if you nip and tuck a little bit here, there just isn't going to be. That's what we've been doing for the last 2 months, is looking at how we can reduce it down. We've already reduced down the cost, the estimate of the design to get it to. So if we're going to impact the classroom, we really have.
It looks like all or nothing is what you're saying up there, but now you're telling me something different. You're saying.
No, I'm saying that what I heard you ask is, can we value engineer it? Meaning, could we take pieces out of it to reduce costs?
What I'm saying is, if you go to the DSA, or the plan, the DSA approves it, gives us back the plans to work from, and we find areas that maybe we'll be able to save some money. We don't have to build that full design, but we have it approved. So isn't it better to get the approval for the larger
Many
macro?
large changes would require DSA reapproval, so you don't go for big changes after DSA approval unless you have to. There could be changes in materials or things like that that you might be able to do. They'll be small in the scope of a $20+ million project, small. And so we'll continue to look at how we can get quality while getting it at the lowest price throughout. But when I hear value engineering, I'm thinking of how do we make bigger, you could be changing a roofing structure so that you can reduce costs, those kind of things which we have been looking at.
My concern right now is if we also don't provide direction, that the escalation costs also are going to cut out any kind of savings that we might have. So we might not get to the point where, if we're asking, waiting for information to come back to us, potentially like we're escalating costs at that time. So whatever reduction we have in this.
That's the potential for any longer delay. And I think that, I'm hearing the desire for community input. I agree. I think if we're looking at whether we do a phased on-site or students off-site, that requires a process and engaging the community. I guess what I'm saying is if the board is, and what I'm hearing from the board is I'm hearing people talk about wanting to do it as designed. I'm not hearing a lot of we should reduce the scope of it. And if that's the direction that the board is leaning towards, and you want us to engage the community around, do we phase it on-site, do we do students off-site, we absolutely would go out and get input from the community. I just can say that, if I'm the Delmar Hills community, and I come and talk to them and say, well, we could do it as designed, or we could get rid of all the improvements to your classrooms, and they're going to want us to do it as designed and take care of the classrooms, and I totally understand that. I recognize why they would say that.
That's the piece they're talking about, is the onsite or offsite.
Right, but the onsite or offsite can be done with direction to move forward with design. So while we're designing, I can do the onsite or offsite conversation with the community.
So I'll voice my opinion that we should stay with the as planned and then make the decision about onsite, offsite. So we are able to avoid this increasing cost.
That's kind of what I suggested. Does anyone else have thoughts about that right now?
Obviously, yes, let's keep it the same, that's fine. I would just want to see, like I've asked, I think it's important that we see projections for all our projects, how much money we have to spend, and, balance that.
I totally agree, and I need Delmar Heights a final number for TLB to a real number. And so we are at a point where once we can bring the update to Delmar Heights, then we can go to how does that impact the whole program, and what does that mean? Because the way I would look at it then is, what's that leave for all the projects that aren't being done yet? And there are two ways to look at that. Is that just that we go to here and then these projects don't get done? Or does it mean that this is what we have left for each project, so each site gets something? So it's not just as simple as this is all the money we have left. We need to think about what does that mean for those other projects.
Exactly.
Right, but that takes time, because I don't know what that number that I have to work with is yet. And I need that number we have to work with, which we will be getting from the end of the Delmar Heights project. And then that's my goal. We want to do that and be able to share that information with the board. I just need to have a true number from Delmar Heights to allow me to do that for the rest of the projects.
So if I can weigh in, and I think I'm going to be sort of agreeing with both of you. I'm inclined towards to do the plan as you want to do it, but subject to, back to Catherine's question, I want to know how much money is left. And I don't need a perfect estimate for Delmar Heights. I don't need a perfect estimate for the next 10 projects that may use that money. But I'd like to know aspirationally, what are some of the things you would like to do? And so if we decide to stick with 26.1, and we can't afford, because Delmar Heights comes in over budget, to do the next project, R, Q, and S, we need to make a decision that we're willing to forego those potential future projects because this is important to us. So I don't need a perfect estimate, but back to Catherine's point, I sort of want to know how much money is left in the capital budget, what other potential projects are there that we may have to, by making this decision, say no to or reduce those.
Yeah, and then I think
you were asking, you may have answered it, I'm not sure, but I think what you were asking was, if we submit a plan to DSA for everything, and then, you know, we decide a year, however many months after we get those plans approved, okay, actually, we don't want to do that part of it, so we just won't do that part of it. But it's been approved, well, we could potentially save money by not doing XYZ parts of it, but we've had it approved already.
In theory that works, but this is an interconnected school, so it would be very hard to play part of Delmar Hills because the roof system is the whole roof. The HVAC system connects the whole school. So if we had a multi-building site, it would be much easier to say, yes, we can do that, and we can prioritize that building A is going to be fully modernized, building B we're going to wait on. We don't have that at Delmar Hills, and therefore we don't have, that would be hard to do with Delmar Hills. So yes, that is potentially, in general, something that can happen, but in this project it would be hard to do because it's an interconnected system, and so it would be hard to pull part of that out.
So I'm hearing that generally keep the plan the same, but then go collect more information, involve the community about phasing on-site, off-site. If there's nothing more, I think that that's pretty much our direction.
And I would like to see what our projections are, capital budget's been over the remainder of the timeline.
And so whether it's like budget workshop or next board meeting, you can provide us a totality of what we're looking at in terms of how much money we have left, how many projects we're looking to do. It's your best guess, you know.
I hear you, and and we will do that as quickly. I just have to impress upon the unknowns we've had with Delmar Heights have made it hard to project out yet, and so we will do the best we can to bring as much as we can. Say again?
Give a range for Delmar Heights, and then projections based on that range.
Just one request as you're trying to present the phasing. It's a little confusing because it sounds like 2 summers plus a school year, sort of like a 15-month project. If it's not phased, but then if it's phased, what's the
I
time
think that's a
frame?
great point, and giving a little more detail to what it would look like for, it's a good.
Yeah, and months, like actual months and years.
Yeah, in engaging the community, we'll have much more detail on what those 2 pieces would look like.
Is there anything more that we could
That is very helpful, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Chris. I think we are moving on to 9.2. Board finding that sufficient work has been completed to further reduce the project retention and improve additional release of retention for the Pacific Highlands Ranch School number 906 guide.
So we are almost complete with Pacific Highlands Ranch Pacific Sky School, and we are proposing to release retention on all but a small number of subcontractors who are doing some work on a roofing thing we have, an HVAC thing we have, and so we are holding on to that because we are having to still work through 2 minor issues, but we would propose to release the remainder of the subcontractors because they've completed their work, the project's over, and there's no reason to retain any longer.
Do you need anything from us for that one?
Board approval.
Do we move directly to board 9.3, which is what we're for next?
So we punched everything, it's all done?
Yeah, long ago, we just have 2 minor things, 2 areas where we're working on, so we're just looking at those 2 sub areas that we would retain retention. So that's why we're not releasing full retention, we're asking the board to approve releasing. So you're finding that sufficient work has been completed to allow us to release retention.
Only for those that don't have.
For all but those, there's actually 3 subcontractors that are part of it.
And for those 3 that retain.
We're retaining at about $200,000.
All of them.
And is there a second you're moving approval to release the project retention?
Correct.
With the exception.
With the exception of 201,477.93.
I'll second.
And all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? No one, motion carries. 9.3, board approval of amendment number 3 to the lease-back agreements for the Pacific Highlands Ranch School number 9 project. It's reducing the final GMP by $2,501,566.01.
And so Carlos got to share the good news, but this is great news, and this is what we strive for. And so in the partnership with Harrison Hall, we were able to, we had allowances and some pieces in there knowing that we may need to do 10 hours of work, but we minimized where that had to happen. The team was good at minimizing changes that we had to do, and we were able to bring the project in $2.5 million under budget. So this would revise the GMP down, and then the final construction cost would come in $2.5 million less than what the board had approved previously.
I move to approve.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
And could you bring a couple more of those?
We'll try.
And 10.1, board review, first reading, proposed 2023-24 budget and ending fund balances.
Good evening again. So item 10.1 is the first read of our 23-24 budget. We'll also be looking at our 22-23 general fund estimated actuals, so looking at second interim to our estimated actuals for this current fiscal year, and then looking at 23-24 and our proposed general fund budget. And then we'll talk a little bit looking ahead based on the May revise, the June adoption for all funds, and give the board a little bit of information on this. This is the first read. This isn't for board action. This is to provide board information ahead of the proposed budget will come in June. And so with that, I'll pass it over to Tiana Martin, our Director of Fiscal Services.
Thank you, Chris. Good evening, President Mock, members of the board, and Dr. McClure. Tonight I'll be presenting on current fiscal year 2022-23 estimated actuals. At the March 15th board meeting, the board approved second interim, and so I'll be discussing the differences between that time and our estimated actuals through the end of 22-23. So at second interim, the revenues were, we had total revenues of $77,424,898 with budget adjustments since and estimated actuals through the end of the year at $76,374,382. That's for the revenues. Some of the changes in revenues for those adjustments were adjustment to the Stirs on Behalf contribution, which is also offset in the expenditure side as well, and also increase to the kitchen infrastructure and training, also known as KIT. We also had the fourth quarter interest earnings that are reflected in those differences. And as we look to the estimated actuals for expenditure side, at second interim, we reported $74,519,980. We had budget adjustments for $806,583, bringing our estimated actuals for 22-23 to $73,713,397. Some of those changes in the expenditures for estimated actuals are reflective of the salaries and benefits increase that the board had approved in the spring, as well as we had 2 curriculum adoptions that we have budgeted for in 22-23 that will now be moved to 23-24 budget, and adjustments to the Stirs on Behalf contribution, as I previously mentioned, and that there's an offset in the revenue. And also making sure that our 5th and 6th grades have Chromebooks, new Chromebooks. We had counted for the Chromebook refresh for both grades this year, 22-23. And for our ending balance for our estimated actuals, our ending fund balance at second interim was reported at $22,860,598. And after adjustments, it is reflecting $22,616,665 for estimated actuals. And also with the restricted at second interim for $4,396,008, and then at estimated actuals $5,817,008. Bringing our total unrestricted general fund reserve at second interim was 24.5% as we reported, and for estimated actuals for 22-23 is at the 22.5%. I'll turn it back over to Chris to discuss the 23-24 proposed budget. Thank you.
So looking at our 23-24 budget, we have budget priorities, and this is a list of budget priorities that help guide the budget development. These are new priorities that the board has expressed over the years, including our small class size, STEAM Plus, neighborhood schools, our rural language program, school counselors, deferred maintenance, and then the OPEB trust fund to offset that long-term pension liability. We've had some questions and things that have come up about the cost impact of universal transitional kindergarten, so sharing from a budgeting standpoint what those impacts may look like on this program. And we did a comparison to 22-23 kindergarten sections. So with 21 sections this year, if we had a universal transitional kindergarten program that had the same number of sections, that would require 21 certificated teachers and 21 classified support staff. Based on our current average staff all-in cost, so it's the cost for salary and benefits, workers' comp, and those kind of things. The certificated staff is about $143,000. So for 21 staff members, that'd be a little over $3 million. Classified staff, if we had an aide in that staff, it's about $43,000 a year, and 21 those staff members would equate to about $900,000. So overall staff costs on an annual basis would be about $3.9 million based on this number of sections. There's obviously additional costs such as substitute days and professional learning, curriculum, universal meals, etc. There has also been some questions that have come up around space and classrooms. CDE facilities requirements for a new kindergarten or transitional kindergarten classroom are the same, so it's 1,350 square feet. Restroom access in classrooms. If we had to build new, because we have kindergarten classrooms already, and so if we built 21 new classrooms, the cost per square foot would be approximately $1,000. Modernization maybe a little bit less, but it would be costly because we don't have 1,350 square foot spaces that we can modernize. You have to be conjoining spaces. But at that $1,000 square foot, a new classroom is approximately $1.3 million. So 21 of them will be approximately $27.3 million. So share budget potential impacts for the program. As we look at the proposed budget, we're proposing a revenue at $74 million. The total of $74 million includes a little over $1.1 million, and we appreciate the DMUSD and all that they do in providing the check for $1.13 million tonight. All of those funds are allocated towards STEAM Plus salary and benefits. We also will have a Serves on Behalf as we share each budget. There's a Serves on Behalf contribution, so that's through the state. It's their input of it, and so they give us revenue and then they take out the expenditure. And so we note that on behalf contribution. You'll see that offset under the expenditure. So key assumptions we have here, we're looking at property tax revenue budgeted at 4%. We have our state aid, which also known as hold harmless, and so we continue to note this. And this amount is the categorical funding that's less than $2.5 million base aid reduction, which was incurred during the recession back over 10 years ago. The education protection account budget is $762,500 based on our 3-year ADA of $3,012.5, and that comes in at $200 for ADA. And then we obviously have our Government Schools Education Foundation donation. Looking at our expenditures, there is the total of $74 million, and that's the same as the revenue. We have a balanced budget we're proposing. We are a people business. The bulk of this is staff and salaries and benefits. And we will also note that there's this on behalf contribution, the other side of that, which is the expenditure side.
key assumptions here are we will have the $1,000 increase to the health cap that was part of the negotiations. That starts July 1, so that doesn't impact in 22-23. Those start in the new fiscal year, so we are accounting for that. We have 2 additional counselors that we are accounting for, and that will bring us up to 7 across the district. We are continuing our health trust contribution to offset that impact. And then we have a couple of areas where there are district obligations from the state. So we talked about district priorities. There are also obligations that we have to deal with. One is universal meals, and this has funding, but we are developing a new program, and we actually had students here who were talking about Jamie Phillips, the Director of Child Nutrition Services. Jamie is doing an excellent job. He's highly regarded across our county and our state. But a new program is going to take some time to develop and to bring into being cost neutral. And so I expect it to take the next 2 years to bring it to being cost neutral and then potentially a revenue generator. But it will take a little bit of time. So fortunately, in proactive budgeting, before we opened Pacific Sky, we put money into Fund 17. So we have money for the opening of Pacific Sky School, the opening of the kitchen, and that funding is there and should be able to keep us from having to go into the regular general fund for those costs. And then we have our increase in pension rates. And so PERS was actually set to decrease, hit a peak and then go down as we've had some issues with the stock market and PERS is feeling the hit. It is now set to increase repeatedly for the next 5 years. And so where it was, as we've shared in the past, and Kathy and Mark shared, we've seen PERS and STIRS steadily climb over a number of years from somewhere in the 8 to 10% range to now in the 25, 26, 27% range, and it's scheduled to go up to 30% over the next 4 years for PERS. STIRS is scheduled to remain flat. It will stay at 19%. It was recently in the 16 and change at 16.7% that moved up to this last year, but it's scheduled to remain flat over the next number of years, and so we'll continue to monitor that. Other assumptions are student Chromebook refreshes to provide updated technology for our students and continuing students' transportation for Delmar Heights School Evo for 1 more year. And then our proposed ending fund balance, as you see, the beginning fund balance and the ending fund balance are the same. We have do not see an increase or decrease in the fund balance or the balance budget. We have about $4.5 million remaining restricted funds, and you'll see that our total unrestricted general fund is constant back up because we do have a decrease in expenditures from the year before, and so the percentage of our ending fund balance is higher because you have a slightly smaller expenditure, and so that is what accounts for us going up a little bit in our ending fund reserve balance despite a flat budget. You'll also note in the board item, and something that we post and we note is another obligation from the state is to justify or express a need for any fund balances that are above the state mandate, which is 3% for us. So we have a overall unsigned and appropriated fund balance of $19.8 million, and then 3% in the reserve gets us down to a balance that we need to substantiate need for. So over here we have our OPEB trust, we have the 15% board resolution, that is the $11 million. We are reserving for math curriculum adoption, as we talked about some of that curriculum adoption move to the next, to this coming fiscal year. And then we have the operations reserve fund 17, which is where we are funded for school number 9 and the central kitchen, and so we have a healthy budget there that should help us get through the next 2 years with the University Meals program, getting us to the $17.6 million that we need to substantiate need for the state. And finally, as we look ahead, we've been to a number of budget forecasts recently. The governor has released his May budget revision, and we'll just start with the economic outlook from a state and federal level. We obviously have the federal debt ceiling that's hanging over us, because if that isn't resolved, that could impact the economy as a whole, and then it got back to the California state economy. So we obviously monitoring that, but there's nothing we can really do about it. There's the potential for recession. The governor's May revision to the budget has an addendum, and the LAO has the legislative analyst office has looked at what would be the impact of a mild recession. The slide that we saw showed that if we saw the big three taxes, which are personal income tax, corporate tax, and sales tax, they're the main driver of the economy. With a moderate recession, the forecast for those would come in $40 billion below where they're projected. So we have that as a potential headwind. And then the legislative analyst's office is projecting revenue $11 billion less than the governor. And this is for the overall state budget, not just for schools, but that obviously could have some impact as well. So when we look at the governor's May budget revision, there are a couple of things that really will impact us if they come through. There are one-time discretionary block grant cuts. So we have the Arts, Music, and Instructional Materials block grant, which has some flexibility to buy instructional materials such as curriculum adoptions. We anticipated using some of that curriculum adoptions. That is planned to be halved. So we would use half of those funds. And then the Learning Recovery Block Grant is another funding that we've been able to use for some of the interventions. They are proposing a 30% cut to that. So they're looking at taking some of these one-time monies and putting them towards shoring up the education side of the budget. So we will continue to monitor that and look at how that would impact us. And we have funds in those budgets, but it may deplete the number of years we could use them towards things like interventions that we have been budgeting for. Still no funding for universal transitional kindergarten in this year's budget. And we have no proposed pension relief. Prior to last year, there have been a couple of years where the governor had included pension relief where they helped pay down some of those third and first obligations, and there is no pension relief involved in this budget. So looking forward, we will bring to the board for adoption district budget multi-year projections at the next regular governing board of trustees meeting on June 21st. And that we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Chris. It was nice to see that as the actuals came out, that there's not a deficit. So it's wonderful that you're able to address that with complete the books. So it's nice to see that going forward, there's no sort of structural deficit. And one disappointing thing, not necessarily us, but that the STRS in purse continue to climb, and there's no proposed pension relief from the governor. That's something that CSB continues to advocate for us on the statewide level. It's something that's, I think, crippling budgets. It continues to rise at a level that's really unsustainable. So I think it's one of the main features that are main focuses of CSB right now is to advocate that there is continued pension relief to kind of bring that down so that's more manageable. Because otherwise it's just it continues to skyrocket, it's not keep paying more. And so with that said, if there's any other questions, please.
So, Catherine, you inspired me last month to start researching transition kindergarten. So I've been tracking
Voted on it. You should know about it.
tracking the legislation, AB 1192, which had another read on the 18th. Saw the budget. Budget doesn't seem like it's going to be sending money our direction. What I wanted to turn my attention to is your budget priorities slide. And so not listed on there was transitional kindergarten. And I'm assuming that those budget priorities are set perhaps during budget workshops. And if that's the case, I was curious if we wanted to address those budget priorities and where transitional kindergarten might go as a priority, or what would need to be prioritized to pay for a program like that. When would be the next opportunity to revisit that list of priorities?
So that has been done through budget workshops, and so many of those priorities have come through the budget workshop process over the last couple of years. And so as we set up budget workshops, we could certainly propose facilities-based, but I could certainly do a budget workshop on the general fund budget, looking at the overall budget as well.
When would that typically be? Would that be in the fall?
That's actually something that Dr. McQuarrie and I actually are talking about, potentially having a budget visioning workshop in the fall. It's kind of coincide with maybe potentially the facilities. So whatever time you can find within the calendar, but it sounds like something's going to really evolve that we have that discussion. So it allows us to kind of have more information about the program. Previously there has been presentations about UTK, but this again will allow you to be part of the conversation and allow us to kind of lay out all the information in terms of what the finances look like. We kind of discuss how much everything costs, and discuss our budget parts.
And do those workshops cover both the operational and capital budgets? So, for example, if we have an estimate of 3.9 per year in the operational budget for a program like transitional kindergarten, we also have capital expenditure, and we saw an estimate of 27 million. Would both of those elements be discussed at the budget workshop with operational and capital?
It could be, yes.
Thank you.
Any additional questions?
Can you remind me again what the Operations Reserve Fund 17 is for?
Fund 17 was setting aside for the operations of Sky School and the Central Kitchen.
Okay, and so what's happening with that fund?
It's offsetting the negative for the Central Kitchen and the running of universal meals in our first couple of years. So it will take time to build it into a cost neutral or hopefully positive program, and we anticipate we'll need about 2 years for Mr. Phillips to be able to get us to that cost neutral and hopefully getting more positive revenue stream from our universal meals program.
Okay. And it's always a sticking point for me, the 15%, because I feel like we've got the 3, that's an obligation, and then an additional 15, so it's always 18.
And again, we actually, as at the last budget workshop, we said that we wanted to be at 20% as a board.
We did.
That was the direction that we gave.
We didn't agree to 20%.
No, that was the direction that we gave, that we wanted to be above 20% for reserves. It was the direction of the board that, and that's what Chris understood to be, that was what the direction of the board at the time was. There's no further questions. We'll move to.
No action, this is just the first reading.
Yeah.
Just board information.
Thank you very much, Chris. We'll move to 11.1, board approval, declaration of need of fully qualified educators, 2023-24 school year. With Mr. Stanley.
Good evening, President Bach, members of the board, and Dr. McClurg. So the Declaration of Need for Fully Qualified Educators is an annual form that all school districts fill out and submit to the California Commission on Teacher Credentialing in order for districts to be able to apply for any type of emergency credentials or any type of limited assignment permit that might be required should the need arise. So here in Del Mar, we're very fortunate that we're able to have a surplus of very well-qualified teachers for our classroom positions, but sometimes there will be a need where we will have candidates who most frequently will be if we're hiring candidates who are prepared from in other states in order to meet the licensing and the credentialing requirements of California. So most typically it would be for the CLAT requirements. And so what we're asking for is approval of the Declaration of Need for Fully Qualified Educators. What we are required to do and what the county office advises us is to be liberal in trying to estimate the number of potential emergency permits that might be required. That way I don't need to come back to you more than annually to require this form.
Is there a motion to approve the declaration of need for fully qualified teachers? Second.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you very much, Ryan.
Is there a question on your record now? There's no mention of resignations in your report. Can you explain why?
That's not part of the report.
Can you explain why?
I don't think that's necessary at this point. And which
There's
I
no
can-
mention of resignations, and we have resignations. Why is it not being reported?
Resignations, that will appear in the June personnel actions.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
All right. Moving to 12.1, closing items. Board review preliminary items for the June 2023 regular board meeting. Okay, we have, I guess we don't really have a presentation, so it goes first to these, Janice Holoka for public comment.
Hello. Regarding agenda item 12.1, the preliminary items for the June regular board meeting. As state law, Education Code, Section 35145.5 includes, it is the intent of the legislator that members of the public be able to place matters directly related to school district business on the agenda of board meetings. I request action items related to the district's obligation to comply with laws protecting the civil rights of individuals with disabilities and to comply with the federal funding statute known as the IDEA to be placed on the June board meeting agenda, including for the board to address the recent California Department of Education, CDE's letter, which I asked to be included with this agenda item for the public to view, ruling that Del Mar Union has illegally been denying disabled students needed assessments, and ordering the district to take a number of corrective actions, and thus in response to the CDE's letter, for the board to discuss and determine a plan for implementing these corrective actions, and for monitoring that they are complied with on an ongoing basis. And for the board to address the March 2022 Special Education Staff Survey, which I asked to be included with this agenda item for the public to view, that was conducted in response to ongoing concerns related to students with disabilities, centered around the district leadership's decision-making and their impact on students and staff. And thus for the board to determine a plan for working with special education staff and parents to resolve their concerns and to determine solutions. And also for the board to determine a plan to investigate and or otherwise address any disparate or discriminatory treatment of students with disabilities at all Del Mar Union schools, including to address if students with disabilities are disciplined unfairly compared to students without disabilities, disciplined for conduct that are manifestations of their disabilities, or disciplined as a direct result of the district's failure to implement the student's IEP or 504 plan. Thank you.
Just a topic I'd be interested in hearing more about, and I'm not sure that I'd give it to you, Joa, whether it's an agenda item or some other way to share the information, but just to understand more about what the protocols are about providing notice to parents about incidents that happen in schools and, parent access to, school incident reports, for lack of a better word. So that's just something I would like to understand more about, whether it's an agenda or something.
Understood. Thank you. Anything else?
Yes, I would like to know more about the CD report and what our best practices adjustments will be going forward. Also, student behavioral intervention practices included in that manifestation determination practices. School safety protocols and family engagement strategies. I would like the kindergarten survey results to be released. And I would like a facilities update on the 21 classrooms needed for transitional kindergarten to figure out how many we already have.
Okay. Got it. Agree. 12 points to adjourn the meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting? A second. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Meeting is adjourned at 10:16 p.m. Thank you very much, everybody.
Wow, this one's.